Chapter 2553. Monkey. Seeing that the great sage was floating in space, Yang Jian gave up on restraining Ming Bu and rushed towards the great sage. He wrapped his arms around the great sage. He shook the great sage's body. Monkey, monkey, wake up. The great sage was covered in blood. Tears welled up in Yang Jian's eyes as he frantically wiped the great sage's face. Monkey, wake up. Stop fooling around. Wake up. I'm begging you, okay? Yi Zi is gone. Don't tell me you're not going to play with me anymore. Then who am I going to argue with in the future? Who wants to fight with me? Monkey. Yang Jian knelt in the air and hugged the great sage, weeping bitterly. For the Tulip family members, the energy cannon's attacks were nothing. They had also suffered heavy losses. Seeing that the artillery fire had stopped, the Tulip family members retreated to Ming Bu. Yin Shang, Su Luer, and the Masters of the Stars caught up. He saw Yang Jian hugging the great sage and crying. Great sage. Yin Shang ran over. Yin Shang, the monkey is gone. Yi is gone. They're all gone. Yang Jian's eyes were filled with tears. He hugged the great sage as if he was venting his emotions. Su Luer hurried over from behind. His eyes widened, especially when she saw the great sage's arm torn off. All Star-Lords. Yes, charge with me. With that, Su Luer was just about to charge forward, but Yin Shang stopped her. Let go of me. Su Luner's eyes reddened. Although she wasn't as close to the great sage as Yi Zichen was, they were both experts of the Milky Way, and he was Yuan Hong's older brother. How could she calm down after seeing this scene? Don't go. Yin Shang shook his head forcefully. Sister Luer, you can't go. Let go of me. Su Luer shouted. Ha! What a joke. At this moment, Ming Bu, whose entire body was covered in blood from the energy cannon blast, walked over. It was clearly a plot to kill me. In the end, it was your people who died. TSK, TSK, TSK. Looking at your faces, you must be feeling a lot of heartache. Minabu twisted his neck and adjusted the energy of the universe. The injured bodies regenerated at a speed visible to the naked eye. In less than half a minute, his body had completely recovered. This is his arm. Do you need it? Mingbu grabbed onto the great sage's arm. Even now, he was still holding onto it tightly. One could imagine how deep the great sage's obsession was. Follow me. Retreat. Yin Shang grabbed Su Luer's arm, then silently looked up at Mingbu a few kilometers away. Retreat. I'm not leaving. I must kill him today. Su Luer transmitted through clenched teeth. Big Sister Luer, let's go back. We can't be rash. Yin Shang's voice was filled with helplessness. They failed. If Mingbu was not killed by the energy cannon, then he would definitely attack Earth again. According to Yin Shang's estimations, he wouldn't do anything in the short term. Even though he looked fine, his internal injuries were definitely not light. He also needed to recover his cosmic energy. The members of the Tulip family also needed a rest. This precious truce was also very valuable to Earth. I have to. Let's go back. Yin Shang raised his head and shouted. When he looked at Yin Shang's face, his eyes were brimming with hot tears. Didn't his heart ache? Anyone would feel heartache. Didn't he want to fight the invaders to the death? He wanted to, but reason told him not to. They weren't fighting to the death with the invaders. They were fighting to buy time. They had to get the humans of Earth and the other two planets to safely retreat. Let's go. Yin Shang tugged at Su Luer. Su Luer clenched her fists, stared at the nearby Minabu, and turned away hatefully. Retreat. Above Earth's seas. Su Yin had been waiting there for a long time. She wanted to participate in the battle outside, but the great sage, Yang Jian, and the others had pushed her back. Su Yin, hurry. Hurry and look at the monkey. As soon as he saw her, Yang Jian handed the great sage over. When she saw the great sage, Su Yin could roughly imagine how fierce the battle outside was. Leave it to me. She hugged the great sage, then brought him back to Earth's medical center. Yang Jian instinctively wanted to follow, but before long, he stopped. He couldn't go. He still had to deal with the invaders outside. It's all my fault. After a moment of silence, Yin Shang sighed. If I hadn't made such a risky decision, if I hadn't randomly changed plans, if I hadn't... Yang Jian reached out and patted Yin Shang on the shoulder. If you want to blame someone, blame the invaders. Both he and the monkey knew very well that everything Inshang had done was to buy time. Since they'd acknowledged him, they absolutely couldn't blame him. How much time do you think this battle will buy us? 2 days. Inshang pursed his lips and frowned. I'm not too sure either. It's possible that Minabu will send more subordinates to harass us. 2 days. The energy cannons should be fully charged by now, right? It should be fine. That means we'll have another half a day. Yang Jian focused all of his attention on the battle outside. He didn't dare let his imagination run wild. In other words, by the time the energy cannons end, we'll have already fought for 3 days. As for the remaining 2 days, you really disappoint me. At that moment, a black-robed figure suddenly appeared in the sky above the sea. The newcomer had a smile on his face. He approached Inshang and the others unhurriedly. What are you doing here? Inshang frowned. Wait, what exactly do you want? Why do you still have such a big problem with me? The newcomer narrowed his eyes and shook his head. No matter what, I'm still half an Emperor's star. Inshang, you should be more polite to me. Emperor Yi is the true Emperor's star, said Inshang. Fine, you're all in this together. I won't argue with you. Guli, didn't you go into seclusion? Why did you suddenly come out? Inshang arched his brows. Guli scratched his head. If I didn't come out and you all left, what would I do? You didn't even tell me you were leaving. What? Did you want to just leave me here? When he saw that the others didn't say anything, Guli curled his lips. So I was right. You guys really are something. What exactly did you come here for? We don't have time to listen to your sarcastic remarks, glared Sulu. Guli continued to curl his lips. Be nicer to me. Yi Zichen and I have already buried the hatchet. Besides, I'm here to help you. Oh, look, how else do you think Mingbu got into the battle? How else do you think the Tulip family got off the ship to fight you? The Tulip family? How did you know it was them? Heh. Guli grinned, then rubbed his blood-red right eye. I have a source. Chapter 2554. Earth's Sea Region. The Milky Way was connected to Earth. After the cosmic force entered Earth, the sea became the most dangerous place on Earth. The human race did not dare to approach this place. Countless ferocious beasts ran amok in the sea, but the sea under Inshang's feet was calm. Not a single ferocious beast dared to make a splash. An informant? Inshang knit his brows in confusion, then noticed Guli's eyes. What happened to your eyes? A technique. Guli covered his right eye with his hand and smiled. There's nothing I can do about it. I can't beat Yi Zichen for the position of the Emperor's star, so I can't just sit back and do nothing. I came up with this technique after watching anime. Anime? Inshang was shocked. When other people created their own cultivation techniques, they would have a flash of inspiration, or they would spend their entire life studying and learning countless cultivation techniques. Only after mastering them would they be able to create their own cultivation techniques. Watch anime. This was really in line with Earth's self-created cultivation method. That's right. Guli nodded proudly. I've been in seclusion these past few years to research and develop techniques. Not long ago, I gained some enlightenment and perfected them. What can I do? Soul-sucking. Guli narrowed his eyes and smiled. This skill really suits you. When he heard about Guli's eye technique, Inshang's expression darkened. From the very beginning, Guli had always been a treacherous fellow who liked to toy with other people's souls. The eye technique that he had just developed, it was the same. You guys are too prejudiced against me. When he sensed everyone's gazes, Guli couldn't help but sigh. I might have been young and frivolous, and I did quite a few bad things. But when you guys attacked Yale, didn't I suddenly come to my senses? Let's not talk about this. Let's get down to business, said Suluer. Yes. Yang Jian nodded as well. What exactly do you mean by that informant? Hey, I manipulated a Tulip family invader. Instantly, the way Inshang and the others looked at him changed. Who? What's the point of asking this? I'm asking who it is, as if you know him. Guli rolled his eyes. All I can say is that while you were working hard for the Milky Way, I wasn't idle either. I ran deep into the invader's territory alone and used my ocular technique to control an invader. I apologize for my prejudice against you. Inshang bowed to Guli. Don't do that. I don't care about that. Gu Li shook his hands, then hugged his shoulders and cracked his neck. I got a lot of information from that person. The tulip family was dug out from his head. Now tell me, what's so bad about my eye technique? Without my pupil technique, would you have been able to obtain information about the tulip family? What information? The ones invading us are the tulip family. Their purpose here is to plunder the resources of our Milky Way galaxy. With that, Gu Li suddenly changed the topic. Let me tell you, if it weren't for the person I control, I wouldn't even know that our child is the richest person in the entire Milky Way. There are many precious resources and war resources in the Milky Way galaxy. Even if we become a war resource merchant, we can earn tens of billions of universe dollars every day. You know about universe dollars, right? They're the universal currency. Gu Li was afraid Yin Shang and the others wouldn't understand, so he explained. We know that, said Yin Shang. If they're here to mine resources, we haven't stopped them from doing so. Why do they have to make life difficult for Earth? Mining resources requires people, said Yin Shang. Gu Li let out a long sigh. The first time Ming Bu returned to Earth, he came to enslave the human race. He wanted to use them to mine resources. You forced him to retreat, so he had no choice but to go to other life-bearing planets. Then why did he come back? Can I really tell you? Gu Li hesitated for a moment. Go ahead, then I'll tell you. Gu Li shrugged. Because they found out Yi Zichen died. Last time, you forced Ming Bu to retreat. He felt utterly humiliated, so he came back to make a scene. Instantly, Yang Jian and Yin Shang's expressions changed. They hadn't told anyone about Yi Zichen's death. Yi Zichen died? Exclaimed Su Luer. How come I didn't know? Then she noticed Yang Jian and Yin Shang's expressions. You knew. Why didn't you tell me? I know. Earlier, you looked like you'd lost your wits. Was it because Yi Zichen died? He's not dead. I'm just telling you in advance. Gu Li suddenly said. Are you sure? Yang Jian grabbed Gu Li's arm tightly and glared at him. I'm sure. Gu Li nodded. If he died, wouldn't I become the master of the stars? I didn't sense any starlight from him, so that means he's still alive. Yin Shang. Yi Zi isn't dead. Yang Jian hugged Yin Shang tightly, his eyes filled with hope. Su Yin can definitely save the monkey, that's for sure. How about I give you a bit of time to get excited? Asked Gu Li instinctively. No need, just tell us. We don't have that much time to waste. Who knows when Ming Bu will attack again? Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on him, said Gu Li with a smile. He's currently recovering in the spaceship. He won't be able to leave anytime soon. When they heard this, Yin Shang and the others couldn't help but look at Gu Li. He was actually staring at Ming Bu. How'd he do it? How did you do it? Based on your eye technique? Yang Jian couldn't help but approach Gu Li's eye and touch it. What are you doing? Are you going to dig my eye out? Gu Li pushed him away. My informant is with Ming Bu. I can control him through this eye, so I can see everything he sees. Not bad. Yang Jian patted Gu Li on the shoulder. When he heard that Yi Zichen was still alive, Yang Jian felt much more optimistic. It's nothing special. Gu Li narrowed his eyes and smiled, then arched his brows. If you don't need time to organize your emotions, then I'll continue. This next piece of information is going to be explosive. You'd best be prepared. Instantly, Yin Shang and the others' expressions froze as they looked at Gu Li. This piece of information is: the Tulip family's headquarters have already arrived and will enter the Milky Way galaxy in about half a month. They brought 360,000 people and 60 million slaves to mine resources. What do you think of this information? Explosive enough? Chapter 2555. 360,000 members of the Tulip family. Over 60 million slaves to mine resources. For the current Earth, this number was simply a catastrophic number. After all, right now, they were facing Ming Bu's 20,000-strong army. Even holding out for 5 days was an extravagant hope. They had to survive. Every step was difficult. If the Tulip family's 360,000 clansmen came, is this information reliable? Of course it is. Gu Li cracked his neck, stretched lazily, then looked at Yin Shang and the others. It's absolutely reliable. As soon as he said this, Yin Shang and the others' expressions turned unsightly. They'd rather Gu Li was lying. They come here on purpose to have fun. I can assure you that this information is absolutely true. It came from my informant. He's a member of the Tulip family's vanguard. He's in charge of intelligence. I dug this information out of his mind. He can't possibly lie to himself, can he? Guli shrugged, doing his best to prove his words were true. Inshang and the others furrowed their brows. They raised their heads and looked out into the sea. With their strength, they could cover the entire earth with a single thought. They could clearly see every single movement of the humans on earth. Meanwhile, Su Yin was doing her best to heal the great sage. Xia Kiki, Li Jiai, Lu Jing, and the others were helping Wu Di get the humans into the survival base as quickly as possible. However, there was still chaos. Many humans had broken down emotionally and seemed to be throwing a tantrum. They didn't want to enter the base. Let me go. I'm not going in. At the entrance to Earth's survival base, a middle-aged man stood there with disheveled hair. His eyes were filled with terror as he stared at the entrance to an ordinary cage. You're not saving us at all. You want to sell us to the people of the universe, don't you? Make us their slaves. I've known for a long time. You've always had designs on the human race. The middle-aged man yelled hysterically. Wudi took a deep breath. His seniors were still out there, buying time for the humans to evacuate. How dare these humans say such things? He couldn't let this man keep talking. If he continued to cause a ruckus here, not only would it affect the emotions of the other humans, but more importantly, it would also waste the time of the other humans' evacuation. At this time, what Earth should do was to race against time, not to waste time on these meaningless things. Please believe us, we won't. Before Wu Di could explain, a beautiful figure appeared in front of them. She grabbed the hysterical middle-aged man by his clothes and tossed him out of the base's entrance. If you don't want to leave, then don't. It was Su Luer. When he found out that the Tulip family's army was about to attack, he was shocked. Her heart also became a little anxious. Why did they fight with the Tulip family in outer space? Wasn't he just buying time? He didn't expect that there were people deliberately looking for trouble behind the scenes. They even said that they wanted to sell the humans as slaves. What a joke. At that moment, she really felt that everything they had done was not worth it. The great sage's life was at stake for the sake of Earth. 3,000 Star-Lords, they'd suffered hundreds of casualties. As for the humans they'd been protecting, they had no idea just how many brave lives they'd sacrificed to buy enough time to retreat. I'll tell you right here and now, if you don't want to evacuate Earth, then leave now. Don't waste our evacuation time. We won't force anyone to leave. If you leave again, the situation just now. Su Luer pointed at the middle-aged man she'd tossed to the ground, then turned to Wu Di. Just throw him out. Anyone who interferes with the evacuation or affects the evacuation's efficiency or time will remain on Earth. Hundreds of billions of humans. We don't need one or two of them. When they heard this, the surrounding humans fell silent out of fear. No one dared say another word. Even the middle-aged man who'd caused trouble silently returned to the back of the line and prepared to enter the base. In response, Su Luer didn't bother him any further. Under these circumstances, anyone would feel emotional turmoil, but this sort of turmoil couldn't be an obstacle to Earth's evacuation. Under the apocalypse, everyone was equal. No one was a cut above the rest. It didn't matter what sort of wealth, power, or status you once possessed. The instant you were about to enter the base, you were just an ordinary human waiting to be rescued. That's all. Why did Luer go over there? Asked Yang Jian, observing Su Luer's situation with his consciousness. Perhaps Guli's news is too important, so she needs to do something to distract herself. Inshang watched Su Luer lecture the others. It's good that she went. This sort of phenomenon really needs to be stopped. We've been too polite to them, so much so that they think we're their servants and that coming here to save them is our duty. This world has never lacked idiots like money, said Guli with a smile. At that moment, Guli smiled and said, I've known all this since a long time ago. Back when I stood against you, there were many times when my decisions weren't necessarily wrong. The difference between us is that Yi Zichen is too tolerant of everything. He's almost like the Virgin Mary. That's why he became the Emperor's Star, retorted Yin Shang. The Emperor's Star needs to have a heart that can tolerate everything, But you can't say that tolerance is the right thing to do, can you? For example, what Suluer did just now. Did she tolerate it? At some point, you should be decisive and make a decision. Take our Earth, for example. Didn't you make the same decision to abandon this place and go live on another planet? We'll come back, said Inshang. Of course you'll come back, but when that time comes, do you think Earth will still be Earth? Guli shrugged. There's nothing we can do about it. Inshang understood what Guli meant, but what could he do? If they didn't leave, they'd be enslaved. Were they supposed to just hang around and wait for the Emperor's star to come back and save them? They had to learn how to save themselves. I'm back. Suluer teleported back to the skies above the sea. What do we need to do now? It seems the situation has worsened. That. Inshang frowned in thought. Guli's arms were crossed the entire time, a smile on his face. Every now and then, his gaze swept past Inshang and the others, as if waiting for them to ask for his help. Yet, they didn't seem to have any such intentions. I say, after a few minutes, Inshang couldn't take it anymore. He waved his hand and offered himself. Do you need my help? Chapter 25:56. I'm in too much trouble. That was the only thing Guli wanted to say. He'd stepped forward bravely in the face of danger. He should have been a role and a time to be admired. What did he get in return? All sorts of disregard. Right now, he was like a tool that had come knocking on his door. He'd run out excitedly. First, he'd endured the Emperor Star faction's verbal assault. Then, he'd relied on the information he'd gathered to gain the Emperor Star faction's attention. Once he'd revealed the information, he'd been tossed to the side. He'd clearly laid all sorts of groundwork in the middle. But in truth, he'd wanted to tell them he could help them. Unfortunately, none of them had even considered that possibility. Help! How can you help us? Inshang glanced at him, his eyes brimming with suspicion. Damn, you're discriminating against me. Guli pointed at Inshang's nose and shouted, You're really something. You just apologized to me not long ago, and now you're back at it again? I just opposed you when I was young. Is there a need for that? How many years has it been? You're all too petty. It's not that we're petty. After a long silence, Sulu looked up, her eyes brimming with sincerity. It's your actions from before. How so? We can forgive you, but we can't forgive you on behalf of the people who died because of you. Now, you say you've come to your senses and turn over a new leaf, but you still have a chance to come to your senses. Do those people who died have a chance to come back to life? Inshang reached out and tugged at Sulu. Big Sister Lu, forget it. I know I was terrible before. I admit that. Guli nodded silently and smiled in the face of Sulu's attack. I never said I wouldn't admit everything I did. I admit it, but you can't just give me a chance to make up for it, can you? At the very least, let me do something I can. No matter how terrible I was in the past, when it comes to invaders. Our hearts are the same. Guli glanced at Sulu, the smile in his eyes gone. Of course, he didn't blame Sulu. He knew very well that everything he'd done back then had hurt Sulu and her sister quite badly. Yuan Hong had died in front of her. Even if Yuan Hong had reincarnated, Sulu would never forget the scene of his death. All of you, rest well and recover. You don't have to worry about the time in rooms. I will try my best to buy as much time as possible for you. I'll say it again, I've always acknowledged everything I've done, but I also hope to gain your approval. With that, Guli vanished from the surface of the sea. He looked at the void in front of him. Yang Jian sighed silently, then thought back to what Guli had said. Didn't we go too far just now? What do you think those who died will say? Sulu's eyes flashed with coldness. I don't object to working with him, but if you ask me to forgive him, then I won't. I'm really sorry. I've never been a forgiving person. Outer space. In the cabin of the Tulip family spacecraft, Mingbu sat cross-legged in the middle of the spaceship, surrounded by many medicines that could restore cosmic energy. Inshang's estimation was right. In truth, Mingbu only looked impressive on the surface. His internal injuries were severe, and his cosmic energy was in a violent state. He needed time to recuperate. Cough, cough, cough. Suddenly, Mingbu coughed up a mouthful of blood. The crew members in the cabin rushed over, but were stopped by Mingbu, who wiped the corner of his mouth with his palm. Mocha! Where's Mocha? After about half a minute, Mocha crossed his arms, lowered his head, and walked over, his heart filled with terror. Elder. During this time, his gaze deliberately paused on the blood spurting out of the ground in front of Ming Bu. You're still alive? That's wonderful. Ming Bu's eyes brimmed with satisfaction. He waved at Mocha. Come. Mocha took a few steps forward. Before he could get within 5 meters of Ming Bu, he felt an energy strike his chest. He slammed into the ship's metal walls. The crew fell silent out of fear. They all lowered their heads, not daring to even breathe loudly. Cough. Mocha clutched his chest and struggled to his feet. Elder, do you know why I hit you? Because I caused you to be seriously injured. It's my wrong. Ming Bu immediately interrupted him. You think that I attacked you for my own sake? My palm strike was for the Tulip family members who died because of your mistake. Do you know how many of us died in the battle just now? No, I don't. A total of 8,000 people. 8,000 people. Ming Bu shouted with bloodshot eyes. The veins on his arms were bursting. When he first heard the number, he did not believe it. After confirming, he could feel his blood and qi surging uncontrollably. 8,000 people. Dead. He did not know how to explain to his family. I've asked you several times to confirm the energy of the energy cannons. How did you answer me? How on earth did you study in school? What did the Aboriginals fire just now? Wasn't that an energy cannon? 1,500. A total of 4 rounds. With such an energy reserve, you're telling me that the energy is all gone? This is indeed my problem. Ming Bu said sternly. When the patriarch comes, I will personally explain this to them. None of this has anything to do with you, Elder Ming Bu. Of course it has nothing to do with me. Damn it. Do you think I should take responsibility for this? Ming Bu slapped him again. From beginning to end, Mocha lowered his head and endured silently until Ming Bu's anger calmed down a little. Elder, the family has some news to pass to you. Do you want to hear it? Speak. Ming Bu sat on the ground. Mocha subconsciously glanced at the other crew members in the cabin. Ming Bu narrowed his eyes and looked at him, then immediately waved to the crew in the cabin. You can speak now, right? Elder, if I may ask, how are your injuries? How much of your strength do you have left? Why are you asking this? Ming Bu asked cautiously. I just received the news. Mocha looked at Ming Bu and said, this time, the patriarch did not come with him. Instead, the family members led by He Yu came. The purpose of these people coming here. What purpose? They seem to want to harm you, Elder. Chapter 25:57. He Yu was the leader. Ming Bu, who was sitting in the cabin, frowned. In the entire Tulip family, He Yu was the one he had the worst relationship with. It was not an exaggeration to say that they were mortal enemies. Ming Bu knew that He Yu was coming. When the Tulip family suffered such heavy losses, the first thing he thought of was how He Yu would cause trouble for him and add fuel to the fire in front of the patriarch. That was why he asked Mocha to come, to point out that the energy cannons problem was caused by Mocha in front of the other family members. That way, even if He Yu deliberately caused trouble for him, he could prove that it was not his problem. At present, the only person that Mocha mentioned was He Yu. Where did you get the news? Ming Bu furrowed his brows, acting as if he had never given Mocha anything as he questioned Ming Bu. I only just learned about it. Mocha stood in front of Ming Bu, his eyes filled with fear. My good friend stayed in the family. Just now, I specifically looked for him because I knew that I had made a huge mistake. I wanted to see if he had a solution. He just told me that the patriarch did not come. The one who came was Deacon He Yu. The other elders did not follow. He is the one who came back to the Milky Way to mine resources. Good luck. While Mocha was replying, Ming Bu had been paying attention to his expression. That was right. After the energy cannon situation, he had some doubts about the truth of Mocha's words. It was from Mocha's eyes. He did not feel that these words were false. Stand here and wait. Ming Bu had been in the Tulip family for thousands of years and had made many friends in the family. He could not directly believe Mocha's words. Naturally, he had to seek confirmation from his friends. About half an hour later, Ming Bu frowned and let out a long sigh without saying a word. Mocha was telling the truth. He asked several of his friends, They all saw the patriarch and other elders in the family. This time, when they came back to the Milky Way to mine resources, the management did not move. Only Yu was sent here. Why is it like this? Mingbu furrowed his brows in worry. If Yu had come alone, without the patriarch to keep him in check, with his nature, he didn't care about his position as an elder at all. They might even use the fiasco of attacking Earth to maliciously smear the family's upper echelons. The Tulip family was far away from the Milky Way galaxy. Even if they took a spaceship, it would take at least a few months. There was no way for the family to personally send someone to investigate. It was all based on Yu's words. Perhaps a grave look flashed across Mingbu's eyes as he questioned Mocha. What else did your good friend say? Why did the Tulip family send Yu here? And what is my trouble? Mocha swallowed his saliva and said after hearing that, my good friend is a direct descendant of the third elder. He told me that he sent Yu this time to keep you in check. Actually, in the family, you don't want to acknowledge your identity as an elder at all. You just want to obtain the Milky Way's spatial coordinates. When Yu gets here, he'll send someone to finish you off in secret. At that time, the Milky Way will belong to the Tulip family. As for your death, they could just make up an excuse and give it to your relatives. They don't care if your family suspects you, because the Tulip family isn't afraid of them. A boom! Mingbu's eyes were filled with anger as he punched the metal cabin. He clenched his fist and looked into Mocha's eyes. Why did he tell you all this? I once saved his life in outer space. Mocha's throat surged. Since then, he's been telling me everything he knows. He would inform me of many internal information in the family. That's why I was able to become a small person in charge in such a short time. Then why are you telling me all this? Mingbu frowned. I want to live. Mocha exhaled deeply. He could not help but shiver. This time, my mistake caused the death of the Tulip family. With such a large number of people, the Tulip family will not let me go. My friend told me that he wants me to beg for mercy from Deacon Yu. He will also plead for me. It's best if I can take advantage of your serious injuries before Yu comes. Say it. So what if I'm seriously injured? Mingbu stared. Kill you. Mocha clenched his teeth and clenched his fist. As long as I kill you, I will have contributed to the Tulip family, and they will let me go. How dare you? In an instant, the entire cabin was filled with steaming heat waves. Mingbu's cosmic power turned into a white mist and covered the entire spacecraft. The hot mist melted some of the metal in the spaceship. Mocha endured the burning sensation on his skin. Elder, I have absolutely no intention of killing you. If I really wanted to kill you secretly, I wouldn't have told you all this. Oh, even if I let you kill me, do you dare? Mingbu's eyes were cold. Mocha shook his head. I don't dare. That's why I came here to confess. Who knows if this is your plan to make me relax my vigilance? Mingbu squinted his eyes. Why don't you explain to me why you didn't do that? I don't dare to kill you. Impossible. Mingbu's eyes were filled with mockery. I won't hide it from you. Right now I'm at most a universe level 4. You can easily kill me as a universe level 7. Even so, I won't do that. Mocha shook his head. Oh. Mingbu raised his eyebrows, as though waiting for Mocha's explanation. I don't agree with my friend's suggestion. Mocha raised his head and looked at Mingbu's eyes. From what I see, if I kill you, Elder, then I'll really be dead. Why? If I kill you, the Tulip family will indeed save themselves some trouble. But they won't let me live. Because as long as I live, it will prove that I can leak their plans at any time. If one day I leak it out, it will be a huge loss to the Tulip family's reputation. Only when I'm dead can they truly be at ease. Mocha tried his best to explain. You're not stupid. Mingbu slowly nodded, agreeing with Mocha's words. This was inevitable. Not just the Tulip family. Any family would do this. Only Mocha would die. A dead person's mouth is the safest. Elder Mingbu, please believe me, I believe you. Mingbu squinted his eyes. But how can I believe you? Unless what? Mocha asked. Let me see your heart. Chapter 25:58. Let me see your heart. Mocha, who was standing in front of Mingbu, suddenly froze. His eyes flashed with a trace of panic. Even though Mocha hid it well, Mingbu still caught the trace of panic in his eyes. His eyes revealed a trace of disdain. What's wrong? You're scared just like that. Mingbu slowly stood up from the cabin and went straight to Mocha. It could be seen that Mocha was panicking. When Mingbu walked towards him, his throat moved much faster than before. You didn't lie to me, did you? I really didn't. Mocha's answer was solemn. Elder Mingbu, please believe me. Everything I said is true. If I lied just now, you don't have to say that to me. Mingbu wasn't interested in listening to Mocha use those pale words to prove his heart. He believed what he saw. If what you said is true, then let me see it for myself. Don't worry, I won't hurt you. I only need to let a strand of my consciousness enter your heart and find out what I want to know from your mind. I won't interfere with your privacy. When Mingbu's voice fell, he clearly felt Mocha heave a sigh of relief. Didn't I give you my heart? Mocha asked subconsciously. This time, Mingbu was stunned. He frowned and looked at Mocha for a long time. Why do I need your heart? Do you think that I want your heart? Mingbu's finger pointed at Mocha's chest. His eyes quickly revealed a smile. How is that possible? What do I need your heart for? Then, Elder Mingbu, please come. After confirming that he didn't need a heart, Mocha seemed to let go of all his guard. He closed his eyes and stood in front of Mingbu. This calmness caused Mingbu to be a little surprised. Could it be? What this guy said was true from the bottom of his heart. Are you sure you want me to see? Of course. Mocha answered without any hesitation. As long as you can gain Lord Mingbu's trust, you can go and see. What I said is true. Naturally, I'm not afraid of Lord Mingbu investigating. All right. Minabu nodded heavily and covered Mocha's head with his hand. Even at this moment, Mocha's expression didn't change at all. He was in a state of emptiness, waiting for Mingbu's confirmation. Another half an hour passed. Mocha slowly opened her eyes. When he woke up, he saw that Mingbu was already sitting in the cabin. Elder, I believe what you said. Mingbu squinted her eyes and smiled. I saw it just now. You really didn't lie to me. Little did they know, Mingbu didn't even look at it. The soul reading technique was a high-level spell in the universe. To learn it, time was one thing, but it also required a lot of money to learn from professionals. To get started, at least 500 billion universe dollars was required. How could he have mastered it? Everything he did just now was actually a test. If Mocha had really lied to him, he wouldn't have been able to stand in front of him so calmly. He faced himself in a state of emptiness. There was only one thing. What he said was true. He didn't have any ulterior motives. Mocha will fall asleep. This was a small technique that Mingbu had mastered. It could make people lose their consciousness temporarily, creating the illusion that they were being investigated. That's for sure. Mocha's eyes were filled with a smile. Everything I said was true, whether it's my thoughts or something else. Yes. Mingbu nodded lightly and looked at Mocha. You did this to show your loyalty to me, right? Yes, Elder. Mocha nodded forcefully. I believe that you're the only one who can save me. Plus, following you, Elder, I can learn a lot. I am willing to be your subordinate. Good. Hearing Mocha's words, Mingbu's heart was filled with satisfaction. He needed someone who could help him. Mocha had come to him personally. Moreover, the two of them could be said to be in the same boat from a certain point of view. Elder, what do you plan to do next? Plot to kill Heiyu. Mocha's eyes flashed with coldness. He raised his hand and made a chopping motion. If you want to kill him, we have to prepare in advance. It won't be long before they enter the Milky Way. They can't come. Suddenly, Mingbu's eyes revealed a complacent smile. It would have been better if he did not know. Now that he knew that the Tulip family wanted to send people to deal with him, how could he let the Tulip family enter the Milky Way? If they really came, even if they made a meticulous plan, it would be impossible for them to not succeed against Heiyu's hundreds of thousands of subordinates. Although Heiyu was against him, he was not a fool. They can't come in? Mocha was puzzled. Why can't they come in? Mocha was puzzled. Why can't they come in? If I don't give them the coordinates, how can they come in? You still haven't told them the coordinates? Of course. Mingbu felt proud of his own wisdom. He had previously given the Tulip family's approximate coordinates. At that time, he was worried that he would regret it. He did not expect that it would be the foreshadowing to save his life. Don't forget, I was the one who brought you here. Even you have no way of confirming the coordinates. If the Tulip family knew, would they not have told you in advance? Tulip, Tulip. I, Mingbu, treated your family like this, but your family treated me like this. Mingbu's eyes were filled with regret. He shook his head and sat in the cabin, looking at the outer space outside. Elder, you have a decision to make. What else can I decide? Mine it myself and become the master of this place. Mingbu narrowed his eyes. The main problem now is how to deal with the Tulip family. They are not you. That's true. Mocha nodded and immediately changed the topic. Elder, will the Tulip family really not come? Mocha's eyes were solemn, as if this outcome was very important to him. Of course. Mingbu laughed. Without the dark spots, how can they enter? By the time they explore, it might be tens of thousands of years later. They can't wait that long. 60 million slaves. How can they afford to waste that much time? If that's the case. Mocha's eyes suddenly revealed a smile. The hand behind his back suddenly glowed with a faint light. Mocha's right eye suddenly turned blood red. His arm directly pierced through Mingbu's chest. You're dead. The Milky Way is safe, right? Chapter 2559. A blood-red eye. Gu Li's lips curled into a smile. He slowly lowered his hand from his right eye. Now, his eye looked exactly the same as Mocha's right eye. Mocha, this was the informant he'd mentioned. That really is simple. Gu Li sat in his room and stretched lazily. Ever since they'd left the sea, he'd used his eye technique to control Mocha to do all sorts of things. Everything he'd said just now was true. Whether it was his friend's identity or the information he'd received. Hey, you wanted to kill Mingbu. It was all true. As such, he wasn't afraid of Mingbu's prying eyes. Even if he did, there wouldn't be any problems. His only hesitation was that he didn't understand Mingbu's intentions. Give him heart? Gu Li thought he was going to kill his informant. You could say he'd prepared for everything. He'd thought of countless possibilities, including having Mingbu take his people and evacuate from outer space. Then, he'd deal with Heiyu and the Tulip family's internal strife. However, he never would have guessed that Mingbu had a trick up his sleeve. That was even better. The Tulip family didn't know about the Milky Way's dark spot. So long as he dealt with Mingbu, the Milky Way would be safe, and Earth crisis would be resolved. In outer space, even though Gu Li swore he'd deal with Mingbu and by Earth time to retreat, Inshang and the others still arrived in outer space. They kept a close watch on the Tulip family. No one knew when the Tulip family would suddenly launch an attack. The Master of the Stars were still outside, charging the energy cannons. If the Tulip family came now and they weren't there, things would definitely fall into chaos. They had to keep watch until all the humans entered the survival base and they could safely retreat. Everyone, having succeeded, Gu Li suddenly reappeared in outer space. Inshang and the others were still in the middle of discussing countermeasures. When they saw him, they all looked over. You're here again. What are you all busy with? Gu Li glanced at the distant Master of the Stars, then walked up to them and pushed them aside. What are you doing? What's there to charge? Gu Li's eyes lit up with amusement. I told you, you have to worship him. Do you understand? Why are you acting crazy again? Su Luer frowned. Let me tell you, I've already dealt with Mingbu. Gu Li shrugged with a smile. He's already dead. The Tulip family has no leader. I'll incorporate all of them later. Then, we'll be able to mine the Milky Way galaxy's resources ourselves. Gu Li's gaze was filled with satisfaction. This was a great merit. He thought that this could be considered as making amends for his mistakes. After all, he did not harm any people back then. This time, he had saved the entire human race in the Milky Way galaxy. Even if Yi Zichen returned, he would still have something to say. He had wandered outside the universe for several years without coming back. The Milky Way galaxy had almost been conquered by the invaders, but he still did not show up. In the end, he, who was half an Emperor star, had to show up to solve the problem. What did you just say? Mingbu is dead. Inshang was shocked. He's not dead yet, but he's almost there. Through his right eye, Gu Li could see Mingbu's situation on the ship. At that time, Mingbu's chest had already been pierced by Mocha. He would most likely die. Also, you can tell the humans to stop now. There's no need to retreat. Even the Tulip family can't come. The Milky Way galaxy is safe. Inshang and the others stared at Gu Li, speechless. They dare not believe it at all. Let me explain. Then Guli explained everything that had just happened to Yin Shang and the others. He did not exaggerate at all. The way he saw it, saving the Milky Way galaxy, was already a great merit. There was no need to exaggerate at all. Yin Shang and the others stared at him with widened eyes. What do you think? It's still me. Guli laughed and shrugged. Can you let go of your prejudices against me this time? I saved the Milky Way galaxy. That's not an exaggeration, is it? Is Mingbu dead? Suddenly, Su Lu's expression darkened. Big Sister Lu'er. Yin Shang shook his head. Guli had already taken care of Mingbu, which meant he'd resolved the Milky Way's greatest crisis. There was no need to cause trouble for him. He'd already done enough. If Mingbu hadn't died, Yin Shang and the others would have found the situation troublesome. I'm not causing trouble for him. Su Lu didn't hide anything from Guli. Based on what he'd just said, she no longer wanted to cause trouble for him. No matter what, he was indeed using his own methods to save the Milky Way galaxy. But Su Lu had a huge question. Mingbu, how could he have died so easily? He'd survived the bombardment of 1,500 energy cannons. Would he die just because his chest was pierced? If he didn't die, then the Milky Way's crisis would still exist. We have to be sure that he's dead. The more successful it seems, the more cautious we need to be. Su Lu said seriously. Besides, do you really think he died so easily after surviving the energy cannon's bombardment? Guli, I need you to confirm that he's really dead. Guli hesitated for a moment. I can't confirm that, but Mingbu used up all of the universe's energy to defend against the energy cannons. I'm guessing that Su Lu's tone was very serious. Can you still see what's going on inside? I'll try. After piercing Mingbu's chest, Guli assumed that his mission was over and gave up on controlling Mocha. Otherwise, using techniques all the time would be very taxing on him. Now that Su Lu said it like that, he wasn't too sure either. He tried to establish a connection with Mocha using techniques. So it's you. Before Guli could see what was going on inside the ship, a beast-like whisper sounded out in his mind. Instantly, Guli felt a sharp pain in his mind, and crimson blood flowed out of his right eye. Oh no! When they saw this, Yin Shang and the others knew that things weren't as simple as Guli made them out to be, even without Guli's explanation. Mingbu didn't die. Then, they saw the Tulip family ships hatch open. Countless Tulip family clansmen stepped forward. Surprisingly, Mingbu was at the very front. His chest had indeed been pierced, just as Guli had said. However, he was perfectly fine. It was as if the bloody hole had no effect on him at all. Good kid. You're pretty capable, huh? Unfortunately, a native will always be a native. Don't you know that our hearts aren't our vitals? You should have destroyed my brain. Unfortunately, you missed such a perfect opportunity. Then, it's time for your doomsday. Chapter 2560. When he thought about it, he felt some lingering fear. Mingbu didn't suspect anything until the Mocha pierced through his chest. Guli's disguise was too good. He couldn't see any flaws at all. Unfortunately, out of all the secrets, there was a flaw. After Guli succeeded, he'd assumed Mingbu would die, so he'd given up on controlling the Mocha. He hadn't done anything wrong. He'd hidden it for so long. He'd hidden it all for this one attack. Once he succeeded, even if he continued controlling the Mocha, he wouldn't be able to do anything. At most, he'd just watch Mingbu die, or he'd be killed. He'd attacked a vital spot, the heart. For the people of the Milky Way, the heart was a sure death spot. It worked for everyone. In fact, it was the same outside the universe. When humans reached the universe level, the heart was no longer a vital spot. Even if the head was destroyed, it didn't necessarily mean death. If you wanted to kill someone above the universe level, you had to either destroy them or find their life core. The life core could be anywhere you wanted. You could control it yourself. Mingbu's life core was in his brain, which was why he'd said Guli should have attacked his head, not his heart. I fail. Guli covered his bleeding eyes. His voice trembled as he said, "Don't worry." He'd thought he'd done everything. He'd wanted Yin Shang and the others' approval, but he'd failed. He'd failed. His failure had thoroughly infuriated Mingbu, causing the tulip family, who'd been resting for so long, to come out in full force. You've already done very well. Noticing Yin Shang's gaze, Yang Jian walked up and patted him on the shoulder. No matter what, Guli had done everything he could for the future of the Milky Way galaxy. He was one of them, the one who'd brought Mingbu the closest to death. But he'd been a bit unlucky. If he'd chosen the head, everything would have ended. The Milky Way would have been liberated. He'd become the hero of the entire Milky Way. I'm sorry, I was too full of myself. Guli lowered his head. Sulu glanced at him, then focused her gaze on Mingbu. It seemed this was the final battle. It's not like we don't have a chance. Yin Shang suddenly transmitted into everyone's sea of consciousness. Although Mingbu is still alive, he is definitely at the end of his rope. It's impossible for him to recover his cosmic energy in such a short period of time. Him fighting with us at this time is advantageous to us. Hearing this, Yang Jian looked towards Yin Shang. Then, when he noticed the expressions of the Star Lords, he knew that these words were meant for them, to boost their morale. Advantageous. How could this be? When Guli described his accomplishments, he made it very clear that Mingbu was around the 4th or 6th layer of the universe. None of them had that kind of strength. Even if the famous cloth was a lamp that had run out of oil, everyone knew that a skinny camel was still bigger than a horse. Moreover, no matter what happened to Mingbu, as long as the Tulip family participated in the war, it would definitely be disadvantageous to Earth. He understood Yin Shang's thoughts. This was his last resort. If he did not say this, without the support of the energy cannons, it would be very difficult for those Star Lords to get excited. Prepare the laser guns. The Star Lords grabbed the laser guns in their hands. Yin Shang stared at Mingbu's position and waved his hand. Begin. This was the first time Earth had taken the initiative to attack. Yin Shang did not remain in the rear. Instead, he charged to the forefront as the general of the vanguard. He had to raise morale. No matter what, if the Milky Way's morale was gone, they would undoubtedly lose. It's time to end this. Mingbu shook his head as he looked at the natives of the Milky Way who were fearlessly charging at them. It was time for the war against the invaders to come to an end. He would become the new master of the Milky Way. The entire Milky Way would be under his rule. The Tulip family? If they wanted to kill him, how could he possibly give them his coordinates? Dying. Yin Shang, Yang Jian, and Sulu charged straight for Mingbu's position. The Milky Way's master of the Milky Way collided with the Tulip family's vanguard. Just like that, another silent yet smoke-filled war began. Aren't you a warlock? Why are you charging out too? Mingbu transmitted to Yin Shang, then raised his arm and punched at Yin Shang's bell tower. It was just as Mingbu had said. Yin Shang was not the kind of warrior who charged and broke through enemy lines. Under this punch, he coughed up blood. He was already vomiting blood, and the bones in his chest had been shattered. And you, Mingbu grabbed Sulu's arm. You can't mix elements here, can you? You're really stupid for daring to come here. He flung Sulu away. Mingbu punched Yang Jian once more. From start to finish, he hadn't moved even half a step. It was hard to say whether Yin Shang and the others weren't worth his while, or he had other plans. Just as Yang Jian had thought, the heavily injured Mingbu wasn't someone they could compare to when they weren't at their peak. Mingbu's injuries were severe, but in truth, they were at the end of their rope. Sulu's foundation had been damaged when she repelled Mingbu. She still hadn't recovered. In order to get Mingbu into the battle zone, Yang Jian had gone all out. Cosmic energy hadn't recovered yet. Yin Shang had kept the 8 trigrams active ever since the battle began. They'd all expended quite a bit. I've already lost interest in playing with you. If you don't want to submit, then forget it. Mingbu's voice resounded in their minds. They knew very well that Mingbu wouldn't be so kind as to let them off. Then, before Mingbu even finished speaking, half a minute had passed. Yin Shang and the others watched as an enormous, blazing fireball hurtled towards them. As the fireball drew closer and closer, they finally saw it. It wasn't a fireball at all. It was a planet. I don't have time to waste with you. You've really made me lose my patience. Let's end this. Stop. Up in outer space, Yin Shang and the others' eyes went bloodshot. Based on the planet's trajectory, it was Earth. Without even thinking about it, they charged forward. Behind the three of them was another figure. Ghouly. Ridiculous. You want to rely on your own strength to stop a planet that's already traveled tens of millions of kilometers? Do you really think you're titled? Ming Bu's eyes brimmed with disdain. However, at that moment, a ray of pitch-black light flickered from outer space. The falling planet instantly shattered into pieces. Yin Shang and the others, who'd been chasing after the planet, stopped. They saw a black-robed youth with a long sword on his back standing in the middle of the shattered planet. So you're the one. You ruined the Milky Way galaxy to this state? Trash. Chapter 2561. Black robe. A long sword. The newcomer's back was facing the sun, and the blinding light made it difficult to see his appearance. Easy. Yin Shang and Yang Jian both looked up at the sky. In outer space, there were fragments of asteroids everywhere. Asteroids were more like meteorites in space. Their size was definitely incomparable to that of Earth. But if it had landed on Earth just now, with its impact, it might have destroyed half of Earth. If that was not the case, Yin Shang and the others would not disregard their lives. They wanted to rely on their own strength to resist the fall of the main meteorite. Perhaps this kind of behavior seemed like a mantis trying to stop a chariot, overestimating its own capabilities. For the sake of Earth, they had to do this. It was just that they had never imagined that this small planet, which had fallen from the sky and was mixed with flames, would actually be cut off by a single person. What kind of strength was that? Who was this person? It should be the Emperor's star. Yin Shang looked up at the black-robed man. Ignoring the glare of the sun, he squinted his eyes, trying to see the man's face. The black-robed longsword. This was the Emperor's star, Yi Zichen, and in the Milky Way, there shouldn't be a second person with such strength. He's not. At that moment, Guli frowned. He was one of the two emperors chosen by heaven. When they were in the same environment as Yi Zichen, they could sense each other to a certain extent. He sensed a completely unfamiliar aura from that person's body. Yes, indeed not. Su Luer also shook her head and frowned. This person's aura is very bloody. Yi Zichen's aura has always been rather gentle and tolerant. This person definitely isn't Yi Zichen. Then who could it be? Yin Shang and the others frowned. They couldn't think of anyone else. There were only so many Earthlings. Do you think he's Su Yun? Suddenly, Yang Jian bumped Yin Shang's arm. A long time ago, Su Yun had left the Milky Way galaxy to train outside the universe. A black robe and a sword were indeed his preferred combination. Civil Star, Yin Shang narrowed his eyes and subconsciously glanced in Su Luer's direction. The Literati star was one of the 4 auxiliary stars like them. They were very familiar with each other's aura. If the person who came was Su Yun, they would have sensed it immediately. However, the person up there had an aura that was completely different from Su Yun's. Yin Shang didn't dare confirm his identity, so he wanted to see what Su Luer thought. To his surprise, she was also frowning deeply. In truth, Su Luer had already expressed her stance long ago. When she said that person wasn't Yi Zichen, she didn't say that he was Su Yun. It was obvious that she didn't think he was Su Yun either. Then who is he? Yang Jian exhaled deeply. Yin Shang also slowly retracted his gaze. No matter who it is, it looks like it's our helper. That's enough. As for who it is, we will naturally know when everything is over. There is no need to waste time guessing here. That's true. After pondering for a while, Yang Jian gently nodded. From the moment this person broke the meteorite, it was obvious that this person was really strong. Perhaps, with him here, it was even possible to kill Ming Bu. Ming Bu was at the end of his rope. Just now, he'd forcefully used an asteroid to destroy Earth. He was sure that his situation was even worse now. Let's retreat to Earth and go help the Master of the Stars. Here, leave it to him. Yin Shang looked up at the black-robed man, then led Yang Jian and the others to join the Tulip family's vanguard in battle. With their participation, the Master of the Stars' side's morale soared. As for Yang Jian and the others, who couldn't gain an advantage over Ming Bu, they were doing quite well against the Tulip family. In their current state, they couldn't deal with Ming Bu. It was too difficult. They left the battlefield to the black-robed man. Mingbu watched helplessly as Yin Shang and the others left. He didn't try to stop them. He couldn't move. He could sense that the sword-wielding human's aura had already locked onto him. If he dared take even a single step, the other party would very likely land several swords on him. From this black-robed man, Mingbu truly felt unprecedented pressure. This was a pressure he'd never felt since arriving in the Milky Way galaxy. Was this a native of the Milky Way galaxy? From this person's aura, he didn't seem to be from planet Earth. This was a person who'd really seen big scenes. At least, Mingbu was sure that this person had at least seen titled experts and had fought with countless people at the pinnacle of the universe. He was very sure of this, because those who had these experiences were completely different from those who had not. "Who are you?" Mingbu looked up at the black-robed man and asked. The black-robed man silently twisted his neck. His right hand was still holding the long sword, his eyes flashing with indifference. "The person who's going to take your life." What a joke. Although Mingbu was a little scared, he didn't want to lose. His eyes were full of laughter. "Do you know who I am? I'm from the Tulip family. What does that have to do with me?" The black-robed man directly interrupted him, narrowing his eyes. "I know you're afraid. Don't deny it. My eyes can see everything in this world, not to mention the fear in your heart." "Nonsense." Mingbu waved his hand, but his body was slowly retreating. He wanted to enter his own spaceship. He wanted to retreat. In his current state, if he really came into contact with this black-robed man, he might really die. One had to know. At this moment, he didn't have any trump cards. The cosmic energy was also in a violent state and hadn't recovered yet. If she were to fight with this unknown guy, Mingbu was not particularly confident in her ability to win. He needed to return to the spaceship. As long as he could enter the spaceship with that human speed, he wouldn't be able to catch up to the spaceship. As long as Mingbu could recover in 2 days, he was confident that he could fight the black-robed man. "Stop!" Suddenly, the black-robed man's whisper appeared in Mingbu's mind. He felt that when he sent the message, there was a pair of eyes staring at him. "Are you trying to run?" Mingbu didn't give me any response. Since he had already been discovered, he might as well rush towards the spaceship. As long as he could enter the spaceship, everything would be solved. "I didn't say you could leave." At this time, the black-robed man grabbed a huge meteorite fragment from the void and threw it fiercely towards the spaceship. Before Mingbu could enter the spaceship next to Mingbu was destroyed by the meteorite fragment, emitting green smoke. Mingbu immediately stopped in his tracks. Looking at the destroyed spaceship in front of him, he rejoiced. Luckily, he didn't enter the spaceship just now. If he had just entered, based on the meteorite fragment, he might already be dead. Right now, he was alive. It was a pity he didn't have a spaceship anymore, which meant he had lost the means to leave. And the meteorite fragment that the person threw earlier, Mingbu could see it too. This person's strength was at least universe level 8 or above. He would die. He really would die. Chapter 2562. Outer Space. Mingbu's heart was filled with fear. A peak expert in the universe, the anti-brain could be said to be at the level of an auxiliary optical computer. In that instant just now, Mingbu had calculated countless possibilities, but he actually could not find any way to survive. Was he really going to die here? Or should he ask for help from the Tulip family? It was true that the Tulip family wanted to kill him, but having such an expert in the Milky Way was also a threat to them. If they wanted to safely mine resources in the Milky Way, they had to get rid of him. Otherwise, the other party would come and cause trouble here from time to time, killing a few of their people and then retreating. This was unacceptable to the Tulip family. Mingbu could also sneak away while they were fighting with the black-robed man. But the problem now was, could he hold on until the Tulip family reached the Milky Way? He estimated that it was unlikely. His current cosmic energy was on the brink of exhaustion. Traveling in outer space for a long time, even if it was just a simple journey, would consume a lot of cosmic energy. If the other party wanted to chase him, he would not be able to hold on for too long. Should he negotiate? Mingbu's brain was working at high speed. Looking at the black-robed man who had not attacked him yet, he was hesitant. Could it be that the other party was afraid of him? If the other party really wanted to kill him, he should have attacked him immediately instead of waiting here. Why don't we talk? After hesitating for a while, Mingbu nervously transmitted to the black-robed man. He did not dare to confirm the other party's thoughts. But at this time, he was almost certain to die. If he could negotiate, he might be able to fight for a chance of survival. He also believed that his strength was a deterrent in the other party's eyes. Sure, the other party's reply was almost seamless, which increased Mingbu's hope for a successful negotiation. You do it, or I do it. You do it. He took a deep breath. Mingbu braced himself and spread his arms, pretending that he did not want to fight with the other party. He slowly moved closer to the black-robed man. The black-robed man also sheathed his long sword. Seeing this, Mingbu let out a long sigh of relief, but he still maintained his vigilance. About 10 minutes later, he squinted his eyes and finally saw the appearance of the black-robed man. The black-robed man was not wearing a black robe at all, but a white robe. It was only because of the reflection of the sunlight that people would think that he was wearing a black robe. On his face, there was also a scar that ran from his sitting eye to his cutting eye. He also had a scar on his neck. One could imagine just how many times this person had escaped from the brink of death. Medium build, he had the standard figure of an earthling. He really came from the Aborigine planet. Mingbu muttered to himself, but he couldn't figure out who this person was. He wasn't the ruler of Earth, Yi Zichen. May I know your name? Mingbu cupped his hands gently. Let's not talk about this. You should know that I don't want to negotiate with you. The white-robed man shrugged. Even though I'm not a bloodthirsty person, I'm willing to give you a chance to redeem yourself. The white-robed man's words were very explicit, but this was exactly what Mingbu needed. He needed this opportunity now. What do you want, sir? Mingbu said. That depends on what you give me, the white-robed man smiled. You should have earned quite a bit in our Milky Way galaxy, right? Right now, you're redeeming yourself. You're not fighting for it, but asking me instead? It depends on your sincerity, don't you think? 5 billion universe dollars. Mingbu raised 5 fingers. When he said that number, he paid attention to the white-robed man's eyes and noticed that there was no change in his eyes at all. 5 billion. He actually doesn't care about it at all. Or does he not know the meaning of 5 billion? Sir, 5 billion universe dollars in the universe. You don't need to explain to me. You can't really think that I don't know what universe dollars are, right? Do you need me to show you the balance of my United Bank account? The white-robed man frowned. He knows. He also has a United Bank account. Since that's the case, why isn't he interested in 5 billion? Could be that 5 billion is really not important to him. 10 billion. Mingbu steeled his heart and reached out his hand again. There was still no change in his expression. 150. I say, are you buying vegetables at the market? The white-robed man frowned and looked at Mingbu. I'm giving you a chance to redeem yourself, but I don't feel that you're cherishing this chance. 300. Mingbu's expression stiffened, and he immediately shouted out, This is all my savings, including all the income from selling your Milky Way galaxy's resources. Really? The white-robed man's eyes lit up. That's right. Mingbu forcefully turned his head. Suddenly, the white-robed man's sword was pointing at Mingbu's forehead. Do you think that the people of the Milky Way galaxy don't know anything? I don't understand what you mean. Mingbu was shocked. We left the Milky Way galaxy to expand our horizons. Do you understand? Don't think that I don't know anything. On the way back, I've already looked around. The resources you've mined can be bought at least 600 billion. Do you understand? The white-robed man squinted his eyes. Including the resources you haven't transferred, it's at least 500 billion. You're telling me 30 billion? In order to sell faster, I didn't sell them according to the normal price. Now, the white-robed man's eyes flashed with a cold smile. He reached out and patted Mingbu's back twice. 2 crystal cards fell from Mingbu's arms into the white-robed man's hand. Secret key. Mingbu gritted his teeth and said a string of numbers. Look, isn't this also 200 billion? The white-robed man squinted his eyes and tilted his head. Friend, I really gave you a chance, but you didn't live up to expectations. Since you don't cherish your own life, then don't blame me. Wait. Mingbu stared and stretched out his hand. He didn't give Mingbu any chance to quibble at all. The white-robed man sent him to negotiate with the intention of getting the money back. This was the Milky Way galaxy's money. No one could take it away. The sword instantly pierced through Ming Bu's forehead. At this moment, Ming Bu's eyes widened, filled with unwillingness and resentment. He stretched out his arm as if he wanted to grab the white-robed man's shadow. About half a minute later, the white-robed man retracted his sword and wiped the blood on Ming Bu's clothes twice. 30 billion, you really have the cheek to say that. Do you really think I've been playing outside these few years? I cherish every minute and second outside, and you still want to scare me. He spat at Ming Bu. The white-robed man put away the crystal card and looked back at Ming Bu, who no longer had any aura and was floating in outer space. He turned his head and slowly left with the long sword in hand. Just when he had walked less than 100 meters away, he suddenly turned around and stabbed Ming Bu's chest again with his sword. Ming Bu, who looked like he was already dead, trembled violently. The white-robed man narrowed his eyes, full of disdain. I already said, my eyes can see everything in this world clearly. Do you understand all of this? Can't you see that you have a life core? Chapter 2563. The life core shattered. At this point, Ming Bu truly died. It was not tragic or tragic. When he first came to the Milky Way galaxy, with his power at the pinnacle of the universe, he was indeed able to dominate the Milky Way galaxy. But he did not expect that the desire to survive of the humans on Earth would reach such a level. Or rather, he lost because he was alone. If he was by his side, he would have had someone to help him, someone to assist him. Perhaps the Milky Way galaxy had already fallen into his hands. But from the beginning to the end, he had been relying on himself. He alone fought against the entire Milky Way galaxy. Defeat. It was inevitable. Sorry, I can't leave your corpse intact. He slapped his palm on Ming Bu's body. Ming Bu, who had fallen into outer space, turned into dust and disappeared without a trace. I'll keep you, even if it's just a strand of your hair. I'm not at ease either. Ming Bu was annihilated. After he was annihilated, his war hammer was left behind. The white-robed man casually grabbed the war hammer. So heavy, even in outer space, the white-robed man could feel the weight of the war hammer. One could imagine how heavy it would be if it was brought to Earth. It seems that no one in the Milky Way galaxy likes to use a war hammer. Shrugging his shoulders, the white-robed man did not think too much. He threw the war hammer into a spatial artifact and looked towards the battlefield with a smile on his face. Put down your weapons. A voice transmission came from the minds of the Tulip family clansmen. Your leader is dead. Put down your weapons, and we will spare your lives. Those who resist will be killed. Countless Tulip family clansmen looked behind them. Ming Bu's figure had already disappeared. Among them, many had actually seen the scene of Ming Bu turning into dust. After receiving the voice transmission from the white-robed man, they all put down their weapons. Ming Bu was dead. If they still stubbornly resisted, they would simply be courting death. Ming Bu is dead. Yin Shang and the others also looked over. They did not pay special attention to the white-robed man. When they joined the battlefield, in order to ensure the safety of the planet masters, they simply did not have the energy to care so much. When they came back to their senses, they saw the Tulip family clansmen also give up resisting. Dead. Ming Bu is really dead. A brilliant smile appeared in everyone's eyes. Ever since Ming Bu invaded the Milky Way galaxy, the humans on Earth have been living in fear for the past few years. In order to survive, their emotions have been tense. It was over. It was finally over. The white-robed man also walked towards the battle zone. Yin Shang and the others walked towards him, wanting to see who he was. When the two sides were separated by several hundred meters, Yin Shang and the others were stunned. You, what? Can't you recognize me? The white-robed man smiled as he removed the hood of his robe. Do you recognize me now? Ming? Emperor Ming? Yin Shang didn't quite believe him. The person standing in front of him had changed too much since Su Yun left a few years ago. It's me. Who else could it be? The white-robed man grinned and raised his hand to touch his face. Have I changed that much? I feel okay, right? Damn, it's really you. Yin Shang and the others immediately walked up to greet him. When they arrived in front of Su Yun, they saw the shocking scars on his face, neck, head, and arms. Each of these scars seemed capable of taking a person's life. It was hard to imagine what Su Yun had experienced in the past few years. What kind of environment had he been living in? How's Earth? Is everything all right? Noticing the other's gazes, Su Yun grinned. Everything's fine. In Shang nodded. That's good. Su Yun smiled and nodded. Yang Jian frowned and pointed at the scars on his body. You. These? Su Yun laughed and reached out to touch the scars, which looked like worms wriggling on his body. Let's talk about it later. How about we deal with these people first? Roughly half an hour later, the 10,000 vanguard members of the Tulip family were all captured. Su Yun personally sealed their cosmic sea, preventing them from acting out. Then, he removed their photon computers and smart helmets. It was laughable. The Tulip family members had clearly come to enslave Earth. Who would have thought they'd become slaves? Back on Earth, Earth's humans were still rushing into the survival base. What are you doing? Su Yun frowned. Originally, we wanted to retreat from the Milky Way galaxy. Although Yin Shang was smiling, his eyes were filled with sorrow. You have no idea how we've been living these past few years. You saw what happened just now. If you hadn't returned, you've already done very well. I was just wrapping things up. Su Yun laughed. Just now, when I came into contact with him, he was already at the end of his rope. Otherwise, I would have wasted quite a bit of time dealing with him. I might not even have been able to win. Are you trying to comfort us? Yin Shang laughed. How is that comforting? Su Yun said solemnly. I'm telling the truth. I believe you. Now that we've dealt with the invaders, does that mean we don't need the survival base anymore? Asked Su Yun. That's probably the case. According to Gu Li, Mingbu hadn't informed the Tulip family of the Milky Way's spatial dark spot. That meant the Tulip family wouldn't return in the future. They really didn't need the survival base anymore. Let them live there. Suddenly, Su Lu said, her expression tense. If we don't let them experience this kind of hardship, they won't cherish the precious peace they have now. We've let them live too comfortably in the past. Big Sister Lu is still as domineering as ever. Su Yun grinned. It's much better now. Yin Shang smiled, then nodded in agreement with Su Lu. That's good too. Let them experience how crowded the survival base is. That way, they won't have to get used to it in the future. Even though I don't want it to happen again, let's just treat it as a preventive measure. Everyone nodded. Regardless of whether it was a preventive measure or not, letting the humans of Earth, the immortal planet, and the divine planet experience the interior of the survival base wasn't a bad thing. It was just as Su Lu said. They'd lived too comfortably in the past. Let them stay here for a few more years, said Yang Jian. When the time comes, I refuse to believe they'll still be like this. You just can't spoil some people. The more you spoil them, the more they'll take advantage of you. Then let them stay here for a few years. In any case, the survival base can last for 20 years. Yin Shang looked at the two angry colleagues in front of him and said with a smile. With that, Yin Shang hooked his arm around Su Yun's neck. Emperor Hades is back. Let's properly welcome him. It's just that you came back at the wrong time. If you'd come back earlier, you might have been able to see your niece. Niece? Su Yun froze. You don't know, do you? Laughed Yin Shang. Your little sister, Su Yin, gave birth to twins of a boy and a girl. Damn! Su Yun's eyes instantly widened, and he clenched his right fist. Damn you, Yeezy. You took advantage of my absence to feed my little sister. You really are my good brother. Chapter 2564. For 5 whole days. Earth, immortal planet, divine planet. The humans on the 3 life planets were all taken into the portable survival base. Ming Bu's death wasn't announced. In the hearts of many humans, they were still in a state of calamity. Senior Yin Shang, the humans on the 3 life planets have all entered the portable survival base. Wu Di placed the survival base on the table. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, who would believe that this palm-sized box had space comparable to half of Earth? The universe's technology is truly amazing. Yang Jian grabbed the box in his hand and shook it up and down a few times. When humans entered, the box was transparent. From the outside, Yin Shang and the others could see what the humans were doing. However, it was a pocket-sized version, so they couldn't see too clearly. Will there be an earthquake if I shake it like this? Yang Jian arched his brows. Probably not. Yin Shang took the survival base from Yang Jian's hands and placed it on the table. In fact, this isn't really a product of technology. Energy cannons and laser guns are. This kind of survival base is similar to the meson pouches in our Milky Way galaxy. It's just that the space inside is larger, and it's imbued with universal laws. You could call it an artificial planet. Do you think the world we live in is the same as the people we see on Earth? Yang Jian frowned at the survival base on the table. As soon as he said this, everyone in the room froze. It's not impossible, Su Yun said with a shrug. At that moment, Su Yun laughed and shrugged. Who knows? Maybe we really are like the people here right now, being watched by others. The only difference is that we don't know, but the people in the box do. Su Yun's words caused everyone to fall silent. They thought about it seriously. In fact, it wasn't impossible. This world was far more complicated than they imagined. They used to live on Earth, but they didn't know about the existence of immortal planets and divine planets. As time passed, their strength grew. They even saw the vast universe and learned that there were many more humans living outside. They, who lived in the Milky Way galaxy, were just a drop in the ocean. Right now, they were still weak. Who could be sure that when they grew to a certain level, they wouldn't see a bigger world? At that time, it might really be possible that there were also people who were put in a box. How are the humans in the survival base? Yin Shang did not continue the previous topic. Not bad. This was to ensure that the humans entering the survival base would not be too chaotic. Wu Di personally entered the survival base to observe and sort things out. The human clan in each life star has a ruler to manage them. When they first came into contact with each other, both parties were somewhat used to it. Fortunately, we're all humans from the Milky Way galaxy. Earth, the celestial planet, and the divine planet are brother planets, so we understand each other. In the beginning, some people were anxious and uneasy. However, under such circumstances, it has stimulated the hearts of many humans to improve themselves. After a brief moment of panic, humans began to get used to the environment of the survival base and focused on improving their own strength. As they listened to Wu Di's report, Yin Shang and the others smiled in satisfaction. That was what they wanted to see. No matter which life star or race they belonged to, they were all humans of the Milky Way. In the face of external difficulties, one should focus on one thing. After experiencing the disaster this time, the Heavenly King now that they could truly see the truth and advance bravely, their fallen comrades would not have been in vain. The Master of the Stars who died, Yin Shang let out a long sigh. Yang Jian followed. They've all been buried. Our victory this time was truly difficult. Yin Shang clutched his head. As the minister of the left, he had done everything he could to ensure the survival of the human race. We'll just have to wait for Yi Zi to come back. Su Yun smiled, easing the tension in the room. That's right. Yang Jian nodded vigorously. When he comes back, we have to make him apologize to us no matter what. The Emperor Star Lord shouldn't stay in the Milky Way galaxy, instead messing around outside. He almost lost the Milky Way galaxy, and he doesn't even know. Do you think EZ is playing outside? Suddenly, they heard a familiar voice in the room. They turned to see the great sage slowly walk into the room, supported by Su Yan. His arm had already grown back. Monkey! Yang Jian immediately rushed out and hugged him tightly. Looking at his arm, he said, Your arm grew back? Lu even went to outer space to retrieve it. She said she'd reattach it once you recovered. Do you really think our goddess of life is for nothing? The great sage rolled his eyes at Yang Jian, then found a seat and sat down. It's all thanks to Su Yan. If it weren't for her, I might have really died. Take on the energy cannons. If you don't die, then who will? Yang Jian cursed. TCH, you actually dare say that about me now? I heard you hug me and wailed. The great sage laughed and nudged Yang Jian. The great sage nudged Yang Jian with his elbow. It seems like you care about me. Have you developed feelings for me after I beat you up? I'd love nothing more than for you to die. Yang Jian's face reddened at the great sage's words. Everyone in the room roared with laughter. Su Yun stretched lazily and looked at the time. Right, I'll take you to see the planet's resources. I'll explain how to use them to make it easier for you to mine and sell them in the future. Emperor Hades, you're leaving? For some reason, Yinshang sensed Su Yun's intention to leave. Yes, I'm leaving. After a moment's hesitation, Su Yun smiled and nodded. Why are you like Yizi? You've only been here for a few days and you want to leave? Is the outside world really that great? Yang Jian frowned. Su Yun was silent for a moment. After a full minute, he shrugged. It's not that the universe is great, it's that we need people to explore it. With that, he turned to face the others. Any life planet, and I'm talking about any life planet, needs experts to support it. There are two types of experts. One is people like you, who sit on the planet and maintain its stability. The other is people like Yizi and I, who explore it. The universe is much larger than we think. Someone has to walk in front of us. In the past, Yizi always did this sort of thing. Now, I want to share some of his burden. Let's put it this way. If it weren't for the fact that I've succeeded in my cultivation, Mingbu would have been hard to deal with. That's what Yizi and I have been doing. You guys have it good. The great sage shrugged. When he saw the shocking wound on Su Yun's body, he wanted to take back his words. Su Yun didn't mind. He laughed and shrugged. That's all. And I'm not saying I want to leave. I have no choice. Now that the Milky Way has suffered such a heavy blow, I should actually stay here for a while and watch it recover. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Yinshang nodded. But my master won't let me. Su Yun shrugged. I came back this time to take a short break. I still need to go back and continue my cultivation with him. The next time I come back, I might even be titled. Titled. Everyone paled. Right now, only the monkey was at the universe stage too. The others had only just reached the universe stage. That might be decades or centuries later. Su Yun laughed. I feel like we're getting further and further away from you and Yizi. Not really, said Su Yun. Once the situation in the Milky Way stabilizes, you can enter the virtual network and find your own methods, or find a few famous teachers. You guys can reach this level without a teacher. That means your talent is actually above average. Let's not talk about this. I'll take you to see the resources. Let me tell you, our Milky Way is really rich. Chapter 2565. Mingbu's Battle. Earth seized over 1,000 ships. More importantly, the resources mined by the humans he enslaved also fell into Earth's hands. Look, they're mining the rare strategic resource, geocentric fluid. Su Yun explained to the people in the ship's cabin. Geocentric fluid can shorten recovery time. If Mingbu had half a cup of it, he wouldn't have ended up like that. Geocentric fluid, as the name implied, it was the liquid that flowed through the planet's core. If a planet was compared to a human, then the geocentric fluid was the blood that flowed through their bodies. Geocentric fluid was a renewable resource. As long as the mining efficiency was maintained, it could be mined until the planet's lifespan came to an end. Even so, the amount mined would definitely be very small. As such, this geocentric fluid was a rare resource in war. It wasn't that it was rare, but that no one dared to recklessly mine it. If too much was mined, the geocentric fluid wouldn't regenerate, and the planet would rapidly age, affecting the mining of other resources. Then why didn't he bring a cup? Yang Jian arched an eyebrow. It's expensive. As soon as he finished speaking, Su Yun glared at him. Geocentric fluid is sold in milliliters. A milliliter of geocentric fluid can be sold for over 500,000 universe dollars. Half a cup would be around 10 million. How could he be willing to part with that? Also, he probably didn't think he needed it. Yinshang spoke up. From the day Mingbu arrived on Earth, one could sense his contempt and disdain from his words. Even though he'd been beaten back once he'd made a comeback, he looked down on the natives of Earth from the bottom of his heart. It was because of his arrogance that he didn't prepare a cup of geocentric fluid before leaving. If he was afraid of Earth, then with his current mining capacity, so what if he brought a few hundred milliliters? That's possible. Su Yun didn't refute this. He didn't know what Mingbu's personality was like. In any case, he'd already taken care of it when he returned. Also, look at that magma-like liquid. That's geocentric lava, mainly used for forging. Some fire-type beasts will also swallow this type of magma. This type of magma costs about 150,000 universe dollars per gram. And look at that tree they chopped down. Su Yun spent more than 2 hours talking to Yin Shang and the others about this resource planet. Everyone listened quietly and calculated in their hearts. According to Su Yun's price, the annual profit of this resource planet was about 15 billion yuan. It didn't seem like a lot. However, in the entire Milky Way galaxy, there were hundreds of millions of such resource planets. Why is the Milky Way rich? There were just too many planets. Life star, resource star, planet star? Too many to count. Let me tell you, if our Milky Way galaxy can mine all the resource planets and non-human life planets, the daily income will be astronomical. In other words, our Milky Way galaxy has the qualifications to become the apex of the galaxy. Don't look at how weak we are now. As long as we start mining resources and use the income to purchase cultivation resources, the Milky Way will have a qualitative leap. That was exactly what the old saying said. A starving camel is still bigger than a horse. No matter what the Milky Way galaxy was, it was still a galaxy left behind by the Milky Way master. No matter how indigenous it was, given enough time, the Milky Way galaxy would definitely once again stand at the peak of the human race. The problem is, do we really have the qualifications to mine it? Yin Shang didn't let the numbers get to his head. Right now, he was very clear-headed and rational. Just as he said, if we have the qualifications to mine the Milky Way galaxy, then it actually proves that we're already standing firmly in the Milky Way galaxy. But right now, we can't even defend the solar system where Earth is. Well, Su Yun grinned, his eyes blazing. If you really want to put it that way, that's not wrong. But I didn't say you should mine the entire Milky Way galaxy. We can do it slowly, step by step. For example, the solar system, Venus, Jupiter. You can mine it. Who should we use to mine it? The Tulip Clansmen? How can they? Su Yun pointed at the human slaves in the Milky Way. We'll use them. As soon as he finished speaking, Su Yun sensed the change in everyone's gazes. The people down below were also humans of the Milky Way. If Yin Shang and the others were to enslave them, then what difference was there between them and Mingbu? I understand what you're thinking, but don't think too highly of yourselves. Su Yun looked him in the eye, his gaze cold. I don't know if the slogan of protecting the Milky Way galaxy has made you stupid, but you really do think of yourselves as the Milky Way saviors. Ask yourselves, what do you think the Milky Way galaxy is? Isn't it just Earth, the immortal planet, and the divine planet? Don't say I'm wrong. Even if Yeezy came back and you asked him, he'd give you the same answer. Everyone was silent. The main thing was, Su Yun was right. I don't care what happens in the future. Perhaps when we grow to a certain point, we'll treat all the life-bearing planets in the Milky Way galaxy as our own. However, in my eyes, there are only 3 life stars in the Milky Way. As for the other life-bearing planets, what does that have to do with us? You can't even manage your own planet, and you want to manage other life-bearing planets? Perhaps my words aren't very pleasant to hear, but I'd like to ask you, are you worthy? People who can't even protect Earth want to protect the entire Milky Way galaxy? Saying such a thing was more or less laughable. Be selfish. Yeezy is already very selfless. We can't be as selfless as him. We need a selfish person. If you don't think it's good to be that person, then I'll do it. Su Yun pointed at his chest. Su Yun pointed at his chest. I'll be the bad guy. I'll become their slave. All you need to do is enjoy the benefits of mining resources. This isn't selfishness or selflessness. Yin Shang frowned. Then what is it? Are you going to leave the resources here and wait for others to come and take them? Or are you saying you want to hire people from Earth to mine? Do you think they're strong enough? Look closely. The weakest of the people mining here are at least domain level. Hire. Suddenly, Yin Shang's eyes lit up. You just said hire, right? Yes. Then why don't we just hire them to mine? They're not considered slaves, and we're not bullying people from our own galaxy, right? Chapter 2566. Employment. The eyes of the people in the cabin brightened. If that was the case, it was acceptable to them. Both parties were in an employment relationship. There was no such thing as slaves. You work for us, and we pay you what you deserve. No matter how they looked at it, this was the best of both worlds. But, looking at Yin Shang and the other's eyes, Su Yun's expression revealed an indescribable sense of ridicule. Naive. Yin Shang, you really are naive. He let out a long sigh, causing the atmosphere in the cabin to fall. He looked at the people's eyes after a long time. He said quietly, "Do you really understand human nature? Employment? Of course, that's not a problem. The premise is that you have enough power to intimidate them and make them work for you willingly. Can you do that?" Actually, there were some things that Su Yun didn't want to say too directly. When he truly entered the universe and saw the boundless world, he also truly understood what human nature was. Human nature, it could be said to be the most difficult thing to understand in the world. He was certain, if Yin Shang and the others really hired the human race who were enslaved by Ming Bu at this time, this kind of orderly mining method would become a bubble in less than half a year. People could only do that if their positions were not shaken. Only then could they be merciful. Yin Shang and the others didn't have that kind of power yet, so their kindness was laughable and naive. If they wanted to intimidate them now, they had to use the most ruthless methods. Employment. Right now, they should be thinking that the humans in the Milky Way were Earth's slaves. They didn't need to have any mercy or compassion for them. Their existence was actually no different from Ming Bu and the others. Even though they also lived in the Milky Way, they didn't belong to Earth's faction. In their eyes, Earth was the same. As the master of the Milky Way, he saw the Milky Way as one of his own. That was because the entire Milky Way recognized his existence. Everyone in the Milky Way knew that the Milky Way was their home. It was the home and dynasty of all humans in the Milky Way. Right now, there was no one in the Milky Way who could be an example. In other words, the Milky Way was actually in a state of division. This was the simplest example. There were so many countries on Earth before the upheaval, but why were there so many conflicts between them? However, the current Earth, let alone Earth, even the immortal star and the divine star recognized the human clan on the 3 life stars as their own. Why? Because of Yi Zichen. He was the leader of these 3 life stars. What about the other life stars in the Milky Way galaxy? I don't approve. They might not even know of Yi Zichen's existence. So why should he be merciful to them? What Yin Shang wanted to do was to use the most ruthless methods to enslave these people and use violence to suppress them. Whoever dared to resist would die. He believed that Ming Bu had used this method to subdue so many hotshots of life stars in such a short time. Perhaps this method would not be able to obtain true loyalty, and their submission was only out of fear. However, it was undeniable that this was indeed the most direct, simple, and effective way to deal with the situation. Kill until they are afraid. Kill them until they don't dare to resist anymore. If Yin Shang and the others really hired them, then they would be treating both sides as equals. Sometimes, human nature was very strange. If you were to face someone with a superior attitude, the person standing opposite you would subconsciously lower his or her attitude, unless that person really had absolute strength. Even if both parties had the same identity, status, and strength, the person who raised his or her attitude first would definitely be the winner. If they first met as equals, then they would snort disdainfully at your methods and even overturn your ideas. At that time, if you tried to use force to suppress them, they wouldn't submit. Instead, they would choose to resist. At that time, the casualties would be even more severe. Ming Bu had already subdued these humans into slaves. All Earth needed to do was take over. With this kind of convenience, why add more trouble? Even if fine, the human race on Earth was kind-hearted. They had a benevolent heart and were broad-minded. Then we'll wait until the other life stars take us seriously, until they willingly submit to us, even if we don't need force. At that time, then we'll liberate them and restore their freedom. Su Yun believed it. At that time, the other life stars in the Milky Way galaxy wouldn't say anything bad about Earth. Instead, they would be deeply grateful to Earth. They would do their best to serve Earth. They would obey Earth's laws. They would mine resources according to the rules and complete Yin Shang's employment. This was human nature. It was also political trickery. Su Iyun couldn't explain this to them. To have this kind of understanding, they needed to truly understand it. It wasn't something that could be accepted just by listening to a few words from others. Perhaps at this time, even if Su Iyun said it, Yin Shang and the others would maintain their own thoughts. This was also because Yin Shang and the others knew that Su Iyun was equal to them. They could have their own thoughts and wouldn't be influenced by Su Iyun's. They wouldn't have to carry out everything he said. Even if Su Iyun said it, they might think it was reasonable, but when Su Iyun left, they would still deal with the problem according to their own ideas. What a pity. Su Iyun couldn't help but sigh. If he could stay in the Milky Way galaxy, he wouldn't need to stay for long. Even if it was just for a few years, he could use everything he learned in the universe to change Earth completely. At that time, even if he left, he would be at peace. Because Earth already had the power to gain the approval of other life stars without the need for military force. But he couldn't do that. The current situation wasn't yet the time for him to stay in the Milky Way galaxy to rest. He still needed to explore and pursue greater power. Only then could he truly protect his home. As for the Milky Way galaxy's resources, perhaps Yin Shang and the others would really have to stumble before they would truly understand their own thoughts. Fortunately, the consequences of such a stumble wouldn't be devastating. At most, it would be a small problem. In Su Iyun's opinion, it was still acceptable. Therefore, he wouldn't particularly emphasize this. At most, he would give them a few reminders and sighs. As for whether they wanted to listen, that was their own problem. They were all working hard for the Milky Way galaxy's future. Everyone should have their own personality and thoughts. Su Iyun could understand and accept this. But unfortunately, Earth's development might slow down for many years. Forget it. Do whatever you want with it. Su Iyun laughed and shrugged. If you want to do things your way, then do as you please. I have no problem with that. No matter what, you're the ones truly in charge of Earth. Ez and I are outsiders. Emperor Hades, what are you saying? Yin Shang frowned. Don't overthink things. I'm not saying I'm angry or at odds with you. I'm just being honest. Su Iyun waved his hand at Yin Shang and the others. Besides, my way of thinking isn't necessarily correct. I'll support all your decisions. As for how to mine resources, how to use them, and how to sell them, that's all available on the virtual network. The courses are very cheap. You just need a few of you to learn them or download them and send them to the others. Here's 150 billion universe dollars. As he spoke, Su Iyun took out a crystal card from his pocket. This is Ming Bu's profit from selling the Milky Way's resources. It's 200 billion in total. I have a lot of places to spend money in the universe, so I took 50 billion for my own use. The remaining 150 billion will be enough for Earth to improve in a short period of time. You can take more, said Yin Shang. This is enough. When he comes back, ask him if he needs it. To be honest, it's quite expensive outside, Su Iyun shrugged. I've pretty much explained everything I need to. I'll leave the Milky Way to you. At that moment, a figure suddenly appeared outside the cabin. When everyone saw who it was, their eyes filled with shock. They hurriedly opened the door. Great Emperor Dongwang, why are you here? The newcomer wore a bamboo hat, but his eyes flashed with seriousness. I just came to ask you, has the Milky Way's crisis been completely resolved? Why do you ask? Yin Shang didn't understand. A group of people has arrived from outside the Milky Way. I roughly estimate that there are tens of thousands of spaceships, all large ones. They've been wandering around the Milky Way's periphery for a long time. I want to confirm their intentions. Chapter 2567. The Milky Way. Outside the dark spot. Tens of thousands of large manned spaceships were parked outside the Milky Way. Still can't contact Ming Bu. In the cabin of the Tulip family's flagship, He Yu, wearing a silver space combat suit, sat on the second floor of the cabin, his fingers tapping on the table on his left. Not yet. Everyone in the cabin was in a tense atmosphere. They had been here for half a day, according to the approximate coordinates given by Ming Bu. Unfortunately, when they arrived here, Elder Ming Bu had unexpectedly lost contact with them. You can't contact anyone else? He Yu frowned. We can't contact anyone. We have sent messages to all the family members in the advance force, but no one has replied. The person in charge of communication in the cabin replied. Hey, inexplicably, Yu's eyes showed disdain. Deacon Yu, do you think our people have encountered danger in the Milky Way, or that the Milky Way master has returned? The blue-skinned woman standing beside Yu said. How is that possible? Yu did not even think about it, and overturned his subordinate speculation. Do you know how many people are watching the Milky Way master? Even if he appears in the human universe, he can't possibly go to his Milky Way galaxy. Why? The subordinate was puzzled. If he goes to the Milky Way galaxy, won't he destroy the Milky Way galaxy that he worked so hard to hide? Yu looked up at the blue-skinned woman. Let's not talk about the others. Do you think the Star-Lord of Tsanyue will keep the Milky Way galaxy? The blue-skinned woman was stunned. Yu's words had already exposed the relationship between the Tsanyue galaxy and the Milky Way galaxy. To the outside world, the Tsanyue galaxy was still an ally of the Milky Way galaxy and was willing to accept the survivors of the Milky Way galaxy. Don't forget, it was also the Tsanyue galaxy that issued a warrant for the Milky Way galaxy. They said that they would accept the survivors of the Milky Way galaxy only after the Society of the Supremes declared that the Milky Way galaxy was innocent. Tsanyue galaxy and the Milky Way galaxy. No one pointed it out, but everyone knew that the Tsanyue galaxy was the enemy of the Milky Way galaxy. Many people secretly speculated that the destruction of the Milky Way galaxy was planned by the Tsanyue galaxy. Deacon, what I said just now might have been thoughtless, but Elder Mingbu hasn't contacted us. We can't just stay here forever. We've already stayed here for half a day. A spaceship of this size is easily noticed by others. Plus, this is the old side of the Milky Way, so the people of the Tsanyue system are watching us closely. That is indeed a problem. There was a smile in Yu's eyes. Although his words seemed to be worrying about this problem, his expression didn't seem to be worried at all. If I'm not mistaken, Mingbu is actually toying with our family. The blue-skinned woman was stunned for a long time, as if she didn't quite understand the meaning of Yu's words. Deacon, are you saying that Elder Mingbu is playing with us? There are some things that you lower-class people don't understand. Yu twisted his neck and said, This Mingbu has always been very ambitious. When he first discovered the Milky Way galaxy, he wanted to take it for himself. If not for the fact that the family promised him great benefits, and even gave him the position of an elder in the family, he wouldn't have been willing to share this information. At this moment, Yu had already begun to deliberately discredit Mingbu. This was so that when they entered the Milky Way galaxy, they would have a justifiable excuse to deal with Mingbu. Just say it, in his heart, he still wants to take it for himself. Our vanguard army is already here, and he has already accepted them. The woman frowned in confusion. If he really wants to take it for himself, why did he accept our vanguard army? He needs manpower. Yu's eyes flashed with self-righteous wisdom. He placed his palms behind his head. He went to the Milky Way galaxy to enslave the natives. It's very difficult for him to manage them alone. He needs sufficient manpower to help him manage those slaves. That's why he accepted the vanguard army. Then why can't our vanguard army be contacted? The woman was confused. Wouldn't it be fine if we take away the vanguard army's optical computer? You seem to have seen through everything in Mingbu's heart. As long as we take away the optical computer, our people won't be able to enter the virtual network. The excuse for taking away the optical computer is also very simple. We just need to say that the Milky Way galaxy is the family secret. In order to prevent others from revealing it, with our family members' loyalty to the family, they won't have any doubts or concerns. After keeping the optical computer, Mingbu can use the title of Elder to manage the vanguard army. That way, the vanguard army will completely become his people. The blue-skinned woman was dumbfounded. From Yu's words, she seemed to have heard a big drama, but she felt that it was all very reasonable. I didn't expect Elder Mingbu to be such a person. Who do you think he is? Yu's eyes were full of disdain. I won't hide it from you. Actually, our purpose for returning this time is not only to take in the Milky Way galaxy's resources, but also to kill Mingbu. Should I kill him? For some reason, after hearing from Yu about Mingbu's actions, Even if Heiyu said he wanted to kill Mingbu now, she didn't feel that it was that hard to accept. The Tulip family members, since young, they were instilled with the idea of absolute loyalty to the family. Anyone who wanted to be disloyal to the family would be the entire family's enemy. Actually, the family won't kill him just because of this. You also know that our family is still very benevolent and righteous. What really makes the family want to kill him is that he actually colluded with the remnants of the Milky Way galaxy. Our family follows the Sanyue galaxy, but Mingbu actually colluded with the remnants of the Milky Way galaxy to vainly attempt to harm our family. Heiyu's gaze darkened, his face incomparably dark. He wants to use the remnants of the Milky Way galaxy's power to remove the Tulip family's patriarch position and obliterate all of us direct descendants of the Tulip family. Otherwise, how do you think he was able to obtain the coordinates of the Milky Way galaxy? So that's how it is. Mingbu is really too despicable. At that moment, the woman's view of Mingbu had already undergone a complete change. From the way she addressed him, it could be seen that she no longer called Mingbu an elder. He has always been so despicable. Thinking of Mingbu's face, Heiyu's gaze became extremely sinister. Elder? Is he worthy of being an elder of the Tulip family? Deacon, we can't continue to wait any longer. The woman also frowned. The energy and fuel we brought this time can only support us for 15 days. We can't stay here for too long. The nearest supply star also needs more than 10 days. Don't be afraid. Once we enter the Milky Way galaxy, we will naturally be able to replenish it. Enter the Milky Way galaxy? The woman was stunned. Didn't you just say that Mingbu wants to monopolize the Milky Way galaxy? If they don't contact us, how are we going to enter? There's a trusted aide of mine in the vanguard. Heiyu squinted his eyes. Before they entered the Milky Way galaxy, they used my optical computer to send me a rough coordinate. When we arrived, I had already gotten people to crack it. I reckon that it will not be long before there is a result. Before the woman's voice trailed off, a figure hurriedly ran out of the cabin. Seeing the person who came, Heiyu's eyes flashed with a trace of a smile. He shrugged and said, "Look, he's here." As soon as he finished speaking, he stood up from the cabin almost without any questions. Everyone get ready. Enter the Milky Way galaxy. Chapter 2568. Tens of thousands. When they heard this, Yin Shang and the others' gazes darkened. It was clear from their gazes that they knew the identities of the incoming ships. What is it? Su Yun frowned. The Tulip family is here, said Yin Shang. Yin Shang frowned and took a deep breath. The Mingbu you killed earlier was a member of the Tulip family. The ones we captured were the vanguard of the Tulip family. If the East Royal Emperor said there was a fleet of ships outside the Milky Way, then it must be the Tulip family's rearguard. That many, tens of thousands of spaceships, meant there were at least 10 million people. Just what kind of monster was targeting the Milky Way? After living in the universe for so long, Su Yun had a rough understanding of the various family clans. For the Tulip family to be able to send such a large number of people meant that they were at the upper echelons of the universe. Guli said there were 360,000 Tulip family clansmen and tens of millions of slaves. But don't worry, Guli said they don't have the Milky Way's spatial dark spot. Even if they came, they wouldn't be able to enter. Yin Shang smiled, feigning casualness. How can we be so sure? Su Yun frowned. Did you bring a portable survival base? Su Yun was the first to react. What he was thinking about was the issue of the survival base. We did. Then we'll. Before Su Yun could finish, he froze. The East Royal Emperor's brow furrowed. Then we'll. They're here. What's here? The Tulip family's people are here. As soon as Su Yun said this, Guli's expression grew unsightly. The others looked at him as well. Mingbu really did say that the Tulip family doesn't have the Milky Way's spatial dark spot. Guli hurriedly explained. That's not strange. It was Su Yun who spoke up to help Guli out. The spatial dark spot's concealment is mainly when it's closed. From a moment you left the Milky Way to the moment we entered and exited the dark spot, it's no longer as well hidden as it was before. They only need the coordinates. By analyzing the data, we can calculate the coordinates of the dark spot. As soon as Su Ian finished speaking, everyone's expressions darkened. According to what you said, doesn't that mean that the Milky Way will be completely exposed to the universe in the future? That's right. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't be in such a rush to leave the Milky Way. I'm sure he knows this too, which is why he chose to participate in the struggle. What we're doing now is for the future of the Milky Way galaxy. It's just that we're taking a different approach. As soon as he finished speaking, Su Iyun's eyes were filled with heaviness. He had never imagined that the situation in the Milky Way galaxy would be this bad. According to his estimation, even though the dark points would gradually turn into surging points, it would take at least dozens of years or hundreds of years. It was out of Zhang Tai's imagination that the Milky Way had been targeted by a clan. Fortunately, our people are all in the survival base. It's all thanks to Big Sister Lu Er's persistence. If we had let them out back then, we would have been in a mess again. Now is the time for him to laugh. Su Luer said in a low voice. They'd just gotten rid of Ming Bu. Now, the entire clan was here. This time, the Tulip family had sent an ocean's worth of people. You could say that they hadn't even had the chance to breathe a sigh of relief. What do we do now? Su Yin frowned. Leave, of course. Su Yun laughed and shrugged. Just follow your original plan. Leave the Milky Way galaxy and find a place to stay. As for the aftermath, wait for Yi to take care of it for you. In any case, I really don't have much time left. Enter the survival base. I'll take you out of the Milky Way galaxy. No, we'll go with you, said Yin Shang with a frown. No one knows what the situation is like at the transfer point. If they left people behind to guard it, we'll be able to help you if we follow you. You? In truth, Su Yun really wanted to say that they'd be a real burden if they followed. But he felt that saying it would be too hurtful. It was as if, after entering the universe, he'd begun to look down on his old friends in the Milky Way galaxy. Su Yun sighed deeply, then nodded. All right, then we'll travel together. But if the time comes and I tell you to enter the survival base, you have to. Sure. Yin Shang nodded. Little did he know, Yin Shang and the others were well aware that, given their strength, it would be difficult for them to help Su Yun. However, they didn't want to leave everything to him. Not long ago, they were the four auxiliary stars, fighting side by side. In just a few years, they'd never guessed the gap between them had grown so vast. That was if they could leave this place alive. They couldn't keep reminding their clansmen. They had to increase their strength as quickly as possible. At the very least, they had to catch up to Su Yun and Yi Zichen. Let's go. With a wave of his hand, Su Yun took control of the ship and left. Are we going to abandon the energy cannons outside Earth? Shouted Go Yuzhan wide-eyed. What the hell are you talking about? We're running for our lives. Yang Jian rolled his eyes. When he said running for their lives, he sounded a little bitter. We don't need the energy cannons, said Yin Shang. We can buy more energy cannons in the future. Right now, the most important thing is to leave the Milky Way galaxy and do our best to contact the Emperor's star. Although he said that, Yin Shang was still nervous. Who could say for sure whether or not they could leave? Even if they did, they couldn't contact the Emperor's star. At the same time, in a dark spot in the Milky Way, He Yu's ship bearing the Tulip family's flag was the first to enter the Milky Way. This Milky Way galaxy is truly picturesque. He Yu couldn't help but exclaim as he gazed at the dazzling silver river beyond the Milky Way. It's so beautiful. The blue-skinned woman was completely stunned. Everyone else in the cabin was the same. They stared at the Milky Way in a daze. All right, we'll have plenty of time to look at it in the future. He Yu clapped his hands, rousing everyone from their reverie. Where, manager? The blue-skinned woman replied. Go tell them to leave 20,000 people here. He Yu looked at the dark spot behind them. Make sure to keep a close eye on them. Do not let anyone leave. Understood. Now, find out where Ming Bu and the others are. He Yu sat in his rattan chair, not in a hurry. He was sure that Ming Bu already knew that they had entered. If they had to talk about being anxious, he should be even more anxious. The people in the cabin began to scan the interior of the Milky Way galaxy. It was right behind a life star outside the dark spot. *T. So many of them? The great sage couldn't help but gulp. His scalp went numb as he looked at the sky-covering ships around the dark spot. Are we going to kill our way out? Impossible. Shang shook his head. Wait, they definitely won't stay here forever. Let's wait until they leave before we leave. We might not be able to get out. Suddenly, the East Royal Emperor let out a long sigh. They found us. Chapter 2569. In the spaceship, the East Royal Emperor's words were shocking. Everyone in the cabin looked at him, their eyes filled with astonishment. Emperor, did you just say that they found us? Shang stared at the East Royal Emperor, his tone filled with disbelief. Yes, I can feel their probing. The East Royal Emperor nodded non-committally. Is what you said true? In such a short time, the people from the Tulip family had already found them. Little did they know that the East Royal Emperor also wanted to say that it was false. He had clearly sensed the other party's probing just now, and had even paused for a full second where they were. 1 second. That was enough for the other party to confirm their location. Manager. Suspicious personnel detected. In the cabin of the Tulip family, the members of the investigation team hurriedly ran out. Suspicious? Hey, you frowned. Yes, it should be a native of the Milky Way galaxy. The investigation team member replied. Why do you care about the native? I asked you to find Ming Bu's location. Hey, you frowned. The only thing he wanted to do now was to let Ming Bu die in his hands. As for the native, he didn't care. We didn't find Elder Ming Bu's location, nor did we find our vanguard. We did manage to find this out. It has been sent to your virtual network. Hey, you frowned and looked at the investigation team member, his expression filled with dissatisfaction. Didn't find him? Could it be that Ming Bu could escape? He entered the virtual network with a frown and looked at the content sent by the investigation team member. At first glance, he frowned. Is there anything else? Send it to me. Yes. Looking at the content sent, Hey, you frowned at first, but soon he laughed nonstop in the cabin. Are you sure you didn't find Ming Bu's coordinates? Yes, our investigation team didn't find Ming Bu's coordinates. The investigation team member nodded seriously. Good, good, good. Hey, you nodded vigorously and laughed nonstop. Wire's eyes were filled with confusion as she looked at Hey You. Manager, what's wrong? I'm happy. Ha ha. The entire cabin was filled with Hey Yu's laughter. In the information sent to him by the investigation team, he saw that there were 1,500 energy cannons outside Earth that had not been withdrawn. There were also the wreckage of the Tulip family spaceships. According to his estimation, Ming Bu must have fought a fierce battle with the natives here. If they couldn't find Ming Bu's coordinates, he might already be dead. This saved him the trouble of looking for Ming Bu personally. I didn't expect this native to be so good. He actually managed to develop an energy cannon. Hey, you thought that these energy cannons were developed on Earth. Otherwise, purchasing so many energy cannons would require a significant amount of funds. As a native star system, he did not think that they would have that kind of wealth. But after a brief moment of joy, Hey Yu's gaze darkened again. Ming Bu's death was indeed a good thing. However, this also proved a very serious problem. There were experts among these natives. To be able to kill Ming Bu, no matter what, it had to be at least a universe level or above. As for warriors and admirals, he didn't think about them. If the Milky Way galaxy really had such experts, they wouldn't have fought so fiercely. From the information sent to him by the investigation team, he could see that in this war, both sides had paid a heavy price. There was another important point: the technology of the natives. The technology of the natives here far exceeded Hey Yu's imagination. If they forcefully attacked, it would cause many casualties. The distance of the Life Star in the picture you just took, about 6 days of sailing. The investigation team replied. For the time being, don't go near that Life Star. We are here for wealth, not to rule this star system. Compared to Ming Bu's thoughts, Hey Yu was much smarter. The Tulip family was after wealth. They were very clear that even if they really occupied this star system, they wouldn't have enough money to buy it. They were using the identity of a space pirate to steal resources. When a true warrior came, they would just retreat. They wouldn't even touch that Life Star with energy cannons. Even if they really wanted to deal with them, they would need to investigate that Life Star thoroughly before making a decision. Investigate the resource star. We will go to the resource star to mine. Hey, you gave the order to the investigation team. Then, Do we not care about those natives? The investigation team member asked hesitantly. Didn't I say not to touch that life star for now? This subordinate didn't mean that. The investigation team member frowned. I'm talking about the suspicious people we just found. Why should we care about them? They were just some natives. Hey, you didn't believe that even if they saw the Tulip family's people, they would still dare to trouble them. They should be praying for their own good. But those people's spaceships belong to the vanguard of the Tulip family. The investigation team member answered. What? Hey, you stood up from the rattan chair. They are riding the Tulip family's spaceship? Yes, there's our Tulip family's emblem on the spaceship. It was them. If they could ride the Tulip family spaceship, it meant that those natives were from the life star that Ming Bu had fought. How many? Just one. Where are they? Behind one of the life stars. The investigation team member said, It will take us 15 minutes to get there. They really dare to come. The corner of Hey Yu's mouth rose. If they had obediently stayed on their own life star, Hey Yu wouldn't have bothered them for a while. But now, they had come looking for them. If they didn't do anything, wouldn't they think that the Tulip family was afraid of them? Moreover, they had killed Ming Bu, but they had also killed many of the Tulip family's people. They couldn't let this go so easily. Teams 3, 7, and 15, stay here. The rest of you, go to the resource star and let the slaves start mining. They are rented by our family. If we don't let them work quickly, it will be our family's loss. Yes. Wire knew that Hey Yu was giving her orders. She nodded and started to make the arrangements. A large number of spaceships headed towards the Milky Way galaxy. 300-man spaceships were left behind. These were the elite troops of the Tulip family. They were all universe level and above experts. The Vanguard spaceships were all small spaceships that could hold up to 20 people. Hey Yu had left a total of 30,000 people behind. Even if the natives in those spaceships were the pinnacle of the universe, even if they used human wave tactics, those natives would still die. Manager, everything has been settled. Wire hurried back. Hey Yu let out a long sigh and sat back on the rattan chair. Confirm their coordinates. Let's go greet the natives here. Seems like there's no need. Before Hey Yu could finish his sentence, a member of the investigation team said, They're coming our way. They're here? Hey Yu couldn't help but laugh. The ignorant are truly fearless. This is good too. You guys follow me down the cabin. We will go and wait for them. Chapter 2570. Milky Way Galaxy. Under Su Yun's orders, they took the ship and headed towards the Tulip family's docking area, facing hundreds of Tulip family's medium-sized ships. Su Yun's small ship. It was like a reed boat swaying in the wind, swaying unsteadily as it sailed over. Medium-sized, about 30,000 of them. In the cabin, Su Yun accurately stated the number of Tulip family clansmen left behind. Everyone in the cabin swallowed their saliva. They didn't expect to see that there weren't many ships, but more than Ming Bu's people. Don't worry. Our goal this time is to leave the Milky Way galaxy. We just need to rush to the teleportation point. Plus, even if we see them, we might not necessarily fight. Who knows? They might even let us go. Su Yun pretended to be relaxed as he tried to ease the tension in the cabin. After a few minutes, their ship stopped 10,000 meters away. They saw the Tulip family, with Hey Yu in the lead and a few people beside him. From the looks of these people, it could be seen that they were experts in battle. They definitely weren't pushovers. Should we go down? Yin Shang asked. I think we should just charge out from here while they're not prepared. How could they not be prepared? Su Yun raised his eyebrows. Look at our dark spot. There's at least 100 ships there. If we force our way through, we'll definitely be shot down by them. Then let's go down. Su Yun didn't hesitate for too long. His expression was calm. If it's a blessing, it's not a curse. If it's a curse, we can't avoid it. They're already waiting for us. If we don't go down, wouldn't that be shaming our country of etiquette? All right, give me the survival base. If anything happens, you guys enter the survival base immediately. Yin Shang frowned as he handed it over. Su Yun took it and placed it in his bosom. Then he opened the door and stepped out of the ship. Deacon, they're here. Beside Hey Yu, a tall and sturdy man with 2 hammers spoke. He was the leader of the 3 teams Hey Yu had left behind. His strength was at the peak of the universe, about the same as Ming Bu. As for the other three, besides Wire, the other two were also leaders. Their strength was also at the peak of the universe. I know. Heiyu's eyelids drooped as he watched Su Yun and the others walk out of the cabin. When he saw Su Yin and Su Lu, he subconsciously raised his brows. This indigenous woman is really beautiful. If such a person were to be sold in the universe, he would definitely fetch a good price. Heiyu's eyes were burning. It wasn't that he'd taken a liking to Su Yin and Su Lu, but rather that he was excited to profit from selling the natives. In the universe, the price of female slaves had always been higher than that of males. Especially high-quality female slaves like these, they might even be more expensive than those resources. As for himself, he would definitely disdain to obtain them. Slaves, in their eyes, they were the same as livestock. As a high-level universe human, how could he marry with livestock? Everyone in the spaceship had alighted. Heiyu also stretched lazily and slowly walked up. Hello, a native of the Milky Way galaxy. Yin Shang and Yang Jian clenched their fists subconsciously when they heard what this country bumpkin had said. It was that lofty attitude again. Damn it, Yang Jian cursed. Who do these people think they are? They keep calling us natives. Don't be angry. Su Yun's expression was calm. It's not wrong to call us natives. If you want to blame something, blame yourself for being weak. We can't even protect our own homeland. It's no big deal for outsiders to call us natives. If you're really angry, then turn it all into power. One day, the Milky Way galaxy will battle on the stage of the universe. We'll shut the mouths of those who once called us natives. Su Yun's transmission rang out in everyone's minds. Then, he looked at Heiyu and the others and transmitted his voice to them. Hello, Tulip family. They actually know we're from the Tulip family. Wire's eyes were filled with disbelief. Maybe Mingba told us. What's so strange about that? He likes to put tulips by his mouth to show off his status. Now that he's an elder of the Tulip family, he'll definitely say more. Heiyu's eyes were filled with disdain. Natives, I didn't think we'd meet so soon. Since you know us, it saves me the trouble of introducing ourselves. Indeed, replied Su Yun. Then why did you come here? Heiyu looked up at them. Heiyu raised his head and looked at the opposite side. We just sensed that you were watching us in the dark. Could it be that you want to ambush us? Sneak attacks? We disdain doing such a thing. Su Yun's words had always been calm. He wasn't arrogant, nor was he afraid of anything. We were just about to leave the Milky Way galaxy. We just happened to run into you, so we wanted to wait for you to leave, then leave. Are you afraid of us? Heiyu transmitted. Why do you say that? If you're not afraid, why did you wait for us to leave? Heiyu's disdain grew. But there's nothing to deny. It's normal for a native star system like you to be afraid of a great family like the Tulip family. Damn it, he's too pretentious. The great sage clenched his fists. He wanted nothing more than to punch Heiyu in the face. No, at least a few dozen. His face would be a bloody mess. Even that wouldn't be enough to pacify his rage. Don't be angry. Sensing the anger in the people around him, Su Yun transmitted to them to calm them down. Anger will only make them look down on us. What we need to do is be calm. Just treat his words as bullshit. Leave the rest to me. If we can avoid fighting, we do our best not to. With that, Su Yun transmitted back to Heiyu. There's no point in saying that. This native isn't simple. Wei transmitted with a frown. Wei transmitted her voice and frowned. She had never seen such a calm person in all the native stars she had seen. Some native planets would panic when invaders arrived. Yet this person's words and actions didn't contain even the slightest hint of fear. It was as if they were equals. Moreover, this sort of equality, it wasn't an act. He truly believed it to be so. Natives have seen the world before. There's nothing to be surprised about. Heiyu shrugged nonchalantly, then transmitted back to Su Yun. You want to leave the Milky Way? That's right. Is it really all right to abandon our homeland? There's nothing wrong with it, Su Yun laughed. It's just a change of lifestyle. Plus, if we leave, it'll be easier for you to mine the resources here. We'll let you have this place. You make it sound good, but you're just running away because you're afraid you won't be able to protect your clan. Su Yun said disdainfully. Hey, you said disdainfully. Let me ask you, was Mingbu killed by you? Yes. Su Yun's unhesitant reply caused He Yu's heart to skip a beat. We didn't just kill him. We have also killed your Tulip family's clansmen. Are you provoking the Tulip family? He Yu rebuked angrily. Not all. Su Yun shook his head. I'm just forcing you to face up to our power so you can make a rational decision. That's all. Chapter 2571. There are no unnecessary words. Ever since Su Yun decided to come down from the cabin, his goal was clear. He wanted to leave the Milky Way galaxy without using any weapons. Even the Tulip family members felt their hearts skip a beat when they heard Su Yun's message. Strength. Hey, you looked up at Su Yun and the others in the distance. I don't know where your strength comes from. Is it because you're at the pinnacle of the universe? Or because of the people around you who haven't even touched the universe level yet? I recognize your strength to be able to have such strength in an aboriginal galaxy. It is indeed worthy of praise. However, if you think that's all you have, it's not enough against the Tulip family. Do you know the 30,000 clansmen behind me? Even the weakest is a universe level. Inshang and the others' gazes froze. Just what kind of existence was the Tulip family? They actually had 30,000 universe-level clansmen here. With such an expert, they must be aiming to rule the Milky Way galaxy. Sir, there's something wrong with what you just said, Wang Yao said. Su Yun smiled and said, What do you mean? What I just said was for you to look at us in the eye and not compare us to your family. Of course, I believe that compared to us, your family is naturally a huge power. If not, we wouldn't have left the Milky Way galaxy. Su Yun's tone was calm, his expression normal. However, this has nothing to do with us, because we knew all this from the start. Even if you didn't explain, we would still know. However, you don't know our strength. So what you should do is listen to me and not refute me. You aboriginal. For some reason, He Yu shook his head and laughed. The Tulip family had been established for less than 10,000 years. The reason they were able to reach their current position was because they supported the universe's adventurer teams, exploring the mysteries of the universe, discovering the indigenous planet, from which they sent professional teams to the indigenous planet, using the identity of space pirates to excavate resources and sell them, creating profit for the family. This kind of behavior was looked down upon by the universe's families. However, it was undeniable. In this era, where the universe's hierarchy was almost fixed, to have one's own territory under such circumstances, this was the simplest and most limited method. Wait until the day actually came. The name of the Tulip family could resound throughout the universe. Whether or not their past conduct was vile was no longer important. He had been to many indigenous planets. He had seen a lot of strong people from the indigenous planet. He'd interacted with all sorts of people. But this was the first time he'd met someone like Su Yun, a puny native. Facing these high-level universe humans, he was neither servile nor overbearing. This attitude made He Yu very unhappy. He didn't mind wasting a few minutes to listen to what this native had to say. You can continue. Actually, I don't have anything to continue. Su Yun maintained his composure. No matter how many people you have, it's an indisputable fact that we killed Ming Bu. Also, your vanguard army of 20,000 was also defeated. Right now, you are personally leading 30,000 people here. The decision is in your hands. To put simply, Su Yun's words revealed a very simple meaning. We are not afraid of you. We can kill 20,000 of them, and the same goes for 30,000. We can kill Ming Bu, and so can you, He Yu. Of course, we are more inclined to leave without resorting to weapons. But if you really want to make a move, don't even think about getting away with it. Are you threatening me? He Yu transmitted. Not all. Su Yun shook his head. This question depends on how you interpret it. We will leave the Milky Way to you and won't cause you any trouble. The extraction of resources is also up to your mood. But if you insist on fighting in order to survive, we can only fight to protect ourselves. Manager. Wire subconsciously turned her head, her gaze somewhat hesitant. What do you want to say? He Yu's emotions fluctuated. He was actually somewhat angered by Su Yun's words. He was actually looking down on the Tulip family. Manager, Our goal here is to extract resources. Wire hesitated for a while, biting her lips. We don't need to cause trouble with these people. We just need to let them leave. This doesn't affect us much. You think so too? Heiyu turned his head and looked at the team leaders. Of course we will follow your wishes. The team leader of Team 3 smiled. Whether or not to fight depends on your decision. We have no objections. Manager, these are all the elites of our family. Any universe-level warrior to our tulip family is very precious. To groom them, the amount of resources needed is immeasurable. If those aboriginals, even if they kill one of our universe-level members, the family will find it hard to accept. Letting them leave actually doesn't do us any harm. Manager, please think deeply. Wire seemed to be thinking from a more logical perspective, and what she said was indeed the truth. Universe levels, to groom them was very difficult. It was even hard for a life planet to give birth to a universe-level fighter. This was a 1 in a few billion chance. The Tulip family had slowly stabilized their footing in the universe. Nurturing and accepting these universe levels wasn't easy. But have you ever thought that we've already suffered losses? Heiyu's gaze sank. Don't forget, our vanguard had universe levels too, and they've all been killed. Also, if we let them go now, do you think they'll take revenge on our Tulip family? These aboriginals, with such a thin amount of universe energy, they were able to train to such a level. If we let them leave the Milky Way, wouldn't that mean they'll grow a pair of wings? At that time, if they find trouble with the Tulip family, wouldn't we lose even more? Manager's words aren't without reason. The tall and sturdy man nodded. Manager, there's no way we'll let them go. Heiyu's gaze sunk. We have to get rid of them here. Roger, your subordinate will go deal with them. The team leader of Team 3 gripped his hammers and was about to go, but Heiyu raised his hand to stop him. Don't go. Let's do this. Heiyu planned to communicate to his subordinates. At the same time, Yin Shang and the others frowned. What are they doing? Can't you let them speak? I don't think it's possible. Suyin took a deep breath. At that moment, Heiyu transmitted into their minds. Fine, I'll let you leave. I can order my subordinates to retreat through the dark point. You can just leave. Many thanks. Suyin cupped his hands towards Heiyu. Heiyu smiled and nodded, then stepped aside. The spaceships behind him also retreated to the two sides. All of you be careful. At that moment, Su Iyun transmitted into the minds of the great sage and the others. The people of the universe are far more unpredictable than the people of our Milky Way galaxy, especially when we're halfway there. They won't let us go. Yin Shang frowned. Su Iyun laughed and shook his head. If they really wanted us to leave, do you think they'd arrange themselves like this? The Tulip family's people were on the two sides of the dark point. In other words, they'd made way. If they suddenly attacked midway, Su Iyun and the others would be instantly surrounded. Return to the cabin. With a wave of his hand, Su Iyun and the others returned to the cabin. The spaceship slowly moved towards the dark spot. In the first half of the journey, the spaceship maintained a normal flight speed, but halfway through, sit tight. Su Iyun pulled on the propeller. An entire spaceship shot past the speed of light towards the dark point. Shoot them down. Heiyu waved his hand, and several battleships chased after Su Iyun's spaceship. The spaceships ahead began to surround them as well. Damn, they're really attacking. Don't worry about that. We just need to get out of here. Su Iyun pulled on the propeller fiercely. At that moment, the spaceship rumbled. We've been hit. Yin Shang looked at the ceiling of the cabin, while Su Iyun's attention was completely focused on the dark point in front of them. Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Boom. The cabin was continuously attacked. The dashboard in the cockpit had already begun to sound an alarm. Su Iyun's eyes were bloodshot as he read the notification. Suddenly, he rapidly tapped his fingers on the control panel for a long time, then raised his hand and opened the cabin door. Jump! Fight it out with them. Chapter 2572. Just a little bit more. If this ship was D-class or above, Su Iyun felt like they could charge out of here. Unfortunately, the quality of the ship was too poor. The pilot of the Tulip family's battleship must have been professionally trained. Practically all of his attacks hit the ship's vitals. 3 of the attacks hit the ship's energy storage room. If it weren't for the fact that the Milky Way's outer space couldn't spontaneously combust, their ship might have already self-destructed. I wanted to fight them for a long time. The great sage gripped his staff, his killing intent boiling. He'd been filled with rage ever since Heiyu's shouts, but he couldn't find a place to vent it. If it weren't for Su Yun constantly calming him down. With the great sage's explosive temper, he would have gone up a long time ago. We can fight, but do you remember what you promised me? Su Yun looked solemnly at the people in the ship's hold. Su Yun stared solemnly at the people in the cabin. We'll enter the survival base. Where did the great emperor go? Suddenly, Su Yun frowned and looked around. She couldn't see the emperor at all. Suddenly, Su Yun furrowed her brows and looked around the cabin. She couldn't see the East Imperial Emperor's figure at all. Su Yun frowned and looked around. She couldn't see the emperor at all. It was obvious that Su Yun knew where the East Royal Emperor was headed. His solemn gaze fell upon the eyes of the others in the cabin. You have to remember, I told you to enter the survival base, so you have to do it immediately. Understood? Inshang nodded. Su Yun looked at the others. When they all nodded back, he nodded in satisfaction. Jump! Before jumping out, Su Yun had the ship enter autopilot mode. The ship accelerated to its maximum speed and shot straight towards the dark spot. The ships blocking the dark spot couldn't dodge in time. Several spaceships were directly destroyed by the collision. Are these people idiots? Heiyu glared at them. Don't they know how to dodge? Administrator, our people didn't expect them to jump either, right? Looking at the destroyed spaceship, Wire explained on behalf of the family members. These natives really aren't afraid of death. They actually dared to jump in like this. Heiyu narrowed his eyes. If it were him, he definitely wouldn't dare do this. Even though it was a space jump, it was still very dangerous. The speed of a spaceship was calculated using the speed of light. When humans jumped out of the cabin, the pressure of the space would immediately follow. Looks like we don't have to do anything. Just the speed of light that their spaceship was traveling at just now will be enough to crush all of them. Heiyu pursed his lips. No. At this moment, Wire shook her head. They seem to have survived. What? He looked into the distance. When Su Yun and the others jumped out of the cabin, Inshang's ribs were instantly crushed. A ray of healing light almost instantly landed on his body. Inshang turned around and saw that Su Yan's condition wasn't much better than his. Fortunately, she was the goddess of life and possessed the power of life. While the space was being torn apart, she was also healing herself. At the same time, her healing light accurately fell on everyone's body. Inshang and the others were in the process of their bones being crushed and healed, then crushed and healed again. This lasted for several minutes. They forced themselves to endure this kind of state. Life-healing power. Heiyu immediately recognized that Su Yin had used life healing. How could an indigenous planet like this have a healer like her? Healers were a type of profession in the universe. It was also one of the more prestigious professions in the universe. It was unavoidable for cosmic adventurers to suffer from injuries and illnesses. In the universe, they would use medicinal pills to stabilize their injuries, then return to a life planet and seek treatment from a professional healer. Among them, the life healer held the absolute position among the healers. It was very difficult for a star system to have a life healer. If the various healers were in a certain family or a certain organization, even if it was a first-rate family or an organization like the Virtual World Corporation, the life healer would still be treated like an ancestor. For no other reason than that. Their life-healing abilities alone made them worthy of such treatment. Such pure life force. She can heal so many people at the same time and maintain it for so long. The purity and output of her life force haven't decreased at all. Just who is she? Heiyu glared. At this time, the great sage and the others were already charging towards the Tulip family, heading toward the dark spot in the Milky Way. Their goal was to leave the Milky Way, not for the sake of killing. Heiyu's eyes burned. Life healer. If the Tulip family had a life healer, then they would have the right to enter the ranks of first-rate families. Right now, they were only second-rate families. If they wanted to enter the first-rate families, then both the family's overall strength and the family's wealth had to be doubled. However, if they had a life healer, then they could directly become a first-rate family and gain the recognition of the entire universe nation. For no other reason, just for this life healer. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that a life healer was comparable to a marquee. The families that had once competed with the tulip family. If they knew that the tulip family had a life healer, they would have given in. Who dared to say that they wouldn't get heavily injured? Who dared to say that they wouldn't get sick? If they wanted to heal, then they had to have a good relationship with the tulip family. Ha ha! Little sister Sue Yin sure is straightforward when it comes to fighting. The great sage hefted his staff and laughed heartily. Without Su Yin, he would have to be extremely careful in battle. If he got injured, then his fighting strength would be greatly reduced. But with Su Yin here, things were different. Even if he took a stab, Su Yan's light of life would instantly heal the wound. Pure life energy could even make him more energetic. His fighting strength would always be at its peak. Protect Su Yin in the middle. Don't let anyone touch her, Su Yun transmitted to the others. Immediately, Yin Shang and the others formed a protective circle with Su Yin in the center. Bit by bit, they charged toward the dark spot. During this time, Su Yin furrowed her brows and transmitted to the others. You don't need to worry about defense. I'll heal your injuries as soon as possible. Trust me. Ha ha, oh well, son, absolutely trust little sister Su Yin. The great sage hefted his staff. From the very beginning, he'd never considered defense. Little sister, won't this affect you? Su Lu furrowed her brows. If they got injured too many times. Su Yin kept releasing her life energy. She was worried that it would burden her. It won't. Ever since I reached the domain level, I've forgotten what it means to run out of life energy. Big sister, don't worry about me. Can't you see that I don't even have a godhead? Then we won't hold back. Yin Shang laughed and threw an 8 trigrams into the void. 8 formation chart of Qian Yuan, open. Then we won't be afraid of anything. Yang Jian, Go Yuzhan, and the others all unleashed their fists and legs. They didn't care if the attacks landed on them. Administrator, let's go. The 3 team leaders by He Yu's side furrowed their brows. He Yu's gaze never left Su Yin, the fire in his eyes growing stronger and stronger. This life healer, she was comparable to a universe country leader. You guys go over there. Remember, you absolutely cannot touch that woman who's using her life energy to heal you. You can't even touch a finger. Got it. Chapter 2573. In this battle of breaking through the encirclement, combat strength was no longer the deciding factor in the outcome of battle. Battle revivals were what truly affected the outcome of a battle. The Tulip family, they had many clansmen, and their strength was all above the universe level. After Yin Shang released the 8 formation diagram, the strength of their people had also increased by more than 30%. Most importantly, they did not need to worry about anything. The Tulip family still had to worry about their defense, but Yin Shang and the others did not need to worry about it. The hollow or equipment set would absorb a lot of damage for them, even if they were really injured. In the blink of an eye, Su Yin would release the light of life, instantly restoring everyone to their peak condition. Hey, did you guys feel it? The Tulip family seems to be afraid of Sister Su Yin. The great sage, who was wielding his staff, sent a mental message. Logically speaking, in a situation like this, they would attack the healer first. However, up until now, have any of you sensed anyone from the Tulip family wanting to attack Su Yin? No, I don't have any here either. Su Luer frowned and transmitted. Not only did I not feel that way, when they attacked, they deliberately avoided me. It was as if they were afraid of hurting me. Are you serious? Yang Jian was stunned for a moment. In that moment, his head was hit by a hammer. Su Yan's light of life followed suit. Because Su Yin is a life healer. Su Yun, who was leading the way, transmitted, life healers have a very high status in the universe. The Tulip family probably recognized Su Yin and wanted to invite her back to the family safe and sound. Haha, wonderful. The great sage laughed maniacally as he sent mentally. That's exactly how they think. If they think like that, we'll actually be able to keep them at bay. No matter what, don't touch Su Yin. If anyone tries to hurt her, I'll get angry with them. Girl, give me a life uplift. All right. Su Yin smiled and sent a vitality excite to the great sage, causing all the cells in his body to instantly come alive. This situation can't last long. They will definitely send someone to stop us. If this continues, we will have to leave through the dark spots sooner or later. Su Yun said in a low voice, his aura vigilantly scanning his surroundings. Then let them come. The great sage snorted. With Su Yin here, I'm on dash. Monkey, be careful. Before the great sage could finish speaking, several people transmitted to him in his mind. The great sage also sensed danger. The Rui Jingu Bang was held horizontally above his head, and a huge force was transmitted from the staff to his arm. Crack! With a crisp sound, the great sage's arm broke. Su Yin frowned and shot a healing light at him. Dark green life force swirled around the great sage's body, quickly healing the wound on his arm. When he saw this, the burly man who'd attacked the great sage frowned and subconsciously glanced at Su Yin. Life healer. He truly lived up to his reputation. He was well aware of the strength of his hammer strike. If he didn't shatter the great sage's arm, it would take him at least half a year to recover. Su Yin casually shot out a beam of light and instantly healed him. If their tulip family could have such a life healer, then their clansmen would be blessed. You're quite strong. The great sage grinned. During this time, the others were also ambushed by group leaders of the tulip family. With Su Yan's light of life, everyone was in pretty good shape. However, the advancing footsteps stopped. Everyone shrank into a ball and looked at the three tigers blocking the road with vigilance. Monkey, are you all right? I'm fine. Are you all right? It's definitely good to have the life goddess around. They all transmitted to each other. Although they weren't injured, they all felt a great deal of pressure. The three people in front of them were no weaker than Sure Mingbu. Everyone, at that moment, Heiyu stepped out of the cabin on his flying ship. His eyes were filled with smiles as he looked at Yin Shang and the others warmly. He even nodded kindly at Su Yin. Look, if you keep fighting, you definitely won't be able to leave the Milky Way galaxy. How about this? Sorry, I almost forgot to introduce myself. Heiyu rubbed his hands, his eyes filled with apology. This humble servant is Heiyu, a deacon of the Tulip family's inner sect, the eldest son of the family head, and the future heir to the family head. What do you want? Su Yun frowned. I wonder, how should I address you? Heiyu didn't even spare Su Yun a glance. Instead, he stared straight at Su Yin. Su Yin frowned. That's a pretty good name. Heiyu's eyes were filled with kindness. It's like this. I feel like there's no point in fighting like this. Instead, it'll hurt our relationship. What do you think? On behalf of the Tulip family, I sincerely invite Madame Su Yin to join us. The family will provide Madame Su Yin with the best resources. If you all wish to continue living in the Milky Way galaxy, we will ensure your safety while we mine resources. After we leave, if you wish to come with us, you can also stay on the planet with life where the Tulip family is stationed. Of course, if you still wish to leave the Milky Way galaxy, we will let you leave and provide you with a spaceship, as long as Madame Su Yin is willing to join us and sign a contract. The people on Earth never expected things to turn out this way. What contract? Su Yin frowned. Swear loyalty to the Tulip family for the rest of your life. Heiyu's eyes were filled with seriousness. The contract will take effect, as long as the universe's laws approve your life planet. Our Tulip family can also use the contract to bind it. We will never invade it. Of course, this is on condition that your clansmen don't endanger our family's safety or benefits. In your fucking dreams, the great sage glared at him angrily. Dedicate my life to the Tulip family? Screw you. Invaders. And you want Sister Su Yin to dedicate her life? Dahua, shut this person up. As soon as Heiyu's voice fell, the great sage was punched and grabbed by Heiyu's people before the people on Earth could even see what was happening. Monkey, Yang Jian and the others cried out. Heiyu looked at them coldly. I'm talking to Madame Su Yin. You natives, do you think you're qualified to interrupt? With that, Heiyu looked towards Su Yin with a smile on his face. Madam Suyin, whatever you think, it's up to you to decide. Our tulip family sincerely wishes to invite you to join us. As long as you join us, we can even provide your clansmen with technology and financial support. Also, my subordinate's rude actions just now. I'll make him apologize to your clansmen. Heiyu's attitude was very humble. He could use forceful methods against anyone on Earth, but not Su Yin. He had to make Su Yin voluntarily join his family. This matter might be difficult to consider. I'm willing to give you half an hour to think about it. When you have a decision, just wave your hand at me. Chapter 2574. The Tulip family clansmen retreated. They left the surrounding space for Su Yun and the others to discuss on their own. Manager, do you think they'll agree? Wire's eyes were filled with worry. Heiyu shrugged and smiled. They'll have to agree whether they want to or not. Wire froze. It doesn't matter if they agree or not. When I said those words, if they're smart, they should know that there's only one path left for them. Join the Tulip family. Heiyu looked up at the nearby Earthlings. They had no right to choose. Heiyu gave Su Yin time to think it over out of respect for the Tulip family's healer. She deserved such treatment. But that didn't mean that if she refused, the Tulip family would let her go. If this healer had someone supporting her, in other words, even if the Tulip family happened to meet this life healer in the universe and she rejected the Tulip family could only let her leave. They would even provide some resources and money to form a good relationship, because no one knew what kind of person owed a healer a favor. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that even a king-rank healer in the universe would owe her a favor. Healers existed. They were more valuable than pill masters in the universe, and harder to provoke. Behind any healer stood countless people. Provoking them was equivalent to provoking a hornet's nest. What a pity. Su Yin was in a native star system. Hey, you didn't need to worry about that. She only had two choices: submit or die. Of course, Hey, you didn't want to kill her. He couldn't bear to. Half an hour. It wasn't long, but it wasn't short either. Soon, the time Hey you gave Su Yin was up. Hey, you had no choice but to walk up. What do you think, Madam Su Yin? Can you let go of my friend first? Su Yin glanced at the great sage. Hey, you smiled and nodded. He gave his subordinates a look to let go of the great sage. Almost instantly, the great sage raised his staff and was about to strike when he suddenly froze. A huge survival base abruptly appeared in the universe. The Tulip family clansmen were so shocked by this sudden scene that they could not react for a moment. Inshang and the others rushed towards the survival base. Su Yin, go in. Su Yun frowned and shouted, but Su Yin still hadn't entered the survival base. The time spent in the survival base was fleeting. Su Yun and the others had also discussed this timing. They wanted to take advantage of the Tulip family members' lack of time to react. By now, the Tulip family members had already recovered from their shock. If the survival base was still in space, it was very likely that it would be taken away by them. Aya. Su Yun grabbed the survival base and turned to look at Su Yan's face. Why don't you go in? I can't go in. Su Yun shook her head. Naturally, she had her own thoughts. If she didn't go in, Su Yun might still be alive. But if she entered the survival base, she was sure. In order for the human race on Earth to leave the Milky Way galaxy, he could fight to the death. I know what you're thinking. Su Yin sent him a voice transmission. Don't worry about me. You saw it just now? They aren't willing to make a move on me. I can stay outside and heal your injuries. If you think that you can fight your way out in this situation, then my existence will not be a burden, but a help. Su Yin let out a deep sigh. In the end, he still did not say what he wanted to say. He didn't know why. Perhaps it was because he had seen too much, or perhaps because he was older, he had lost his previous frankness. He had already habitually suppressed some of his words in his heart. He also started to understand Yi Zichen. Back then, there were many times when Yi Zichen hid his words and did not say them. Back then, he did not understand. But now he understood. The path they were going to take was a lonely one. If only Yi Zichen was here, then they might truly understand each other's thoughts. Survival base. Heiyu nodded lightly. He looked at the survival base that had just appeared like a flash in the pan and smiled. It seems like you guys prepared to leave the Milky Way galaxy a long time ago. How is it? Madam Suyin, your friends seem to be safe. What do you think? I don't think. You will reject us, right? Su Yin stood silently behind Su Yun. A long sword suddenly appeared in Su Yun's hand. Your decision disappoints me. Yu let out a long sigh, then retreated. The three peak-level team leaders all stood up. Don't hurt the life healer. Understood. A huge battle was about to erupt. Su Yun fought against the three peak-level experts of the Tulip family by himself. During this period of time, Su Yin was not in any danger at all. When the Tulip family members attacked, I was a bit fearful, as if the energy shockwaves would affect Su Yin. Noticing this, Su Yin seemed to have become a lot more confident. Su Yin seemed to grow more confident. She no longer stood behind Su Yun, but gradually moved closer to his side to encircle him. Seeing Su Yin approach, the Tulip family experts became even more fearful. Manager, we can't continue like this. Wire's gaze darkened. Look, that native is fighting with more and more vigor, while our people are already. You don't understand them at all. You smiled. The three of them are people I groomed. Take your time and watch. The show is just beginning. Bro, I feel like there's something wrong with your body. Su Yin, who was in the middle of healing Su Yun, suddenly sent a voice transmission. She had received feedback from the light of life she had injected into Su Yun's body. There was an unfamiliar energy lurking within Su Yun's body. Furthermore, every time he came into contact with the Tulip family, this energy would accumulate to a certain extent. Bro, you can't come into contact with them anymore. Just as Su Yun's sword was about to fall, Su Yin grabbed his arm. At that moment, the man wielding the twin hammers came down. Su Yun's gaze sharpened, and he hugged Su Yin, using his back to block the hammer. Just as the hammer came down, a strand of cosmic power entered his body. This strand of cosmic power seemed to detonate the stored energy within Su Yun's body. Boom! The stored energy instantly exploded. The impact wreaked havoc within Su Yun's body. Cough, cough! Su Yun coughed up blood uncontrollably. Su Yin hurriedly pressed her palm against his body and poured her life force into him. For some reason, the ever-victorious life force was unable to repair the damage within Su Yun's body. Did you see that? You finally smiled. How could three peak-level fighters fight against the Universe Stage 8 for so long? If they wanted to, if any one of them went all out, that sword-wielding native wouldn't be their match. But I was worried that something would happen to that life healer. That's why I warned them from the start, to retract their power, to make that native feel like they had a chance of winning and that his life wasn't in danger. Only then would that life healer not use himself as a shield to obstruct our people. Every time they attacked, they would leave a seed of energy within that sword-wielding native's body. This is a secret technique our clan's ancestor obtained while adventuring in the universe. Accursed Seed. Chapter 2575. Any contact, no matter if it's direct or indirect, there'll always be a seed planted. In the beginning, they won't notice anything. By the time they do, it'll already be too late. All they need to do is inject a strand of cosmic power into the seed and detonate it. The seed will transform into a curse that will spread throughout their entire body. Even life force won't be able to heal it. You watched as the blood Su Yun coughed up turned from red to black. Su Yun coughed up blood uncontrollably. That was because the power of the curse in his body had been destroying the insides of his body. Big brother. Su Yan's eyes were filled with anxiety as her life force failed to heal him. What's wrong with my big brother? Save my big brother. I'm willing to go back with you. You're putting me in a tough spot. You rubbed his face. It would have been fine if it was earlier, but the cursed chains have already reached his neck. It'll be hard to save him now. Then I'll die. Su Yin glared. Ha ha ha. You laughed inexplicably. It's been a long time since I've heard someone threaten others with their own death. Su Yin, do you really think your death can threaten us? You can die. I can pretend I've never seen you, the life healer. It might be a bit of a pity for my family, but it won't affect my family. Your existence is to my family. It's just icing on the cake, not providing timely help. Even if you die, your clansmen might suffer too. I'll be angry if you die, so I can only vent my anger on your clansmen. Heiyu's expression was playful. Using one's own life to threaten others was the stupidest way of thinking. You, Suyin bit her lips. At that moment, she felt a deep sense of helplessness. Her life force wasn't omnipotent. She couldn't undo the curse. She watched as the curse chains appeared on Su Yun's arms and neck. Tears welled up in her eyes. She was too useless. If Yi Zichen was here, he definitely would have found a way. Big brother. Wake up, big brother. All Su Yin could do was pour more life energy into Su Yun's body, but the power of the curse wouldn't be consumed by life energy. What her life force could do, it was to extend Su Yun's life as long as possible. However, he could not eradicate the power of the curse. Sister. At that moment, Su Yun suddenly grabbed her arm. Stop giving me life force. I feel like I'm about to explode. The voice transmission sounded in Su Yan's mind. Su Yun raised his hand and gently caressed Su Yan's face. His chin was covered in black blood, and he smiled. Brother. Su Yan raised her hand to wipe the blood off his face, but Su Yun grabbed her hand. Don't touch. There's a curse in this blood. With that, Su Yun shakily stood up straight in space. Don't cry. Have you forgotten who your brother is? Emperor Hades. Emperor Hades is immortal. Suddenly, Su Yun's body glowed with a deep black light. The curse chain had already crawled up to Su Yun's neck. It was instantly swallowed up by the black light. After swallowing them, the black light seemed to grow even more crystalline. A black scythe flashed between his eyebrows. Then, it returned to its original position. In the blink of an eye, the black light behind Su Yun grew deeper and deeper, until a pitch-black river suddenly appeared behind him. He reached into the river and pulled out a black longsword. Su Yun twisted his neck, a wicked smile on his face. The illusory image of the Grim Reaper wielding a sickle. Then it materialized behind him. The blade spun twice in his palm, then he swung it out. His arm hung by his side as he stood proudly in the sky. The instant he swung the sword, a ray of sword light descended. A small planet in space was directly cut in half. Thank you for feeding me. Su Yun smiled and looked at Heiyu, as well as the countless Tulip family clansmen behind her. At the same time, the Tulip family clansmen stared at the long sword in Su Yun's hand, the illusory Grim Reaper behind him, and the river of bones and black swords. They shuddered. You survived. Heiyu frowned. It's a curse. It really is a high-level curse. You might not know, but when it comes to curses, I'm the ancestor of curses for Emperor Hades' bloodline. Su Yun smiled and shrugged. His smile was somewhat demonic. Heiyu's gaze darkened. He actually felt his heart palpitate from Su Yun's body. He was at the peak of the universe. How could he be afraid of someone in the 8th layer? Was it because of the illusory Grim Reaper behind him? A sickle in hand. That was a martial soul. What was Emperor Hades' bloodline? He never even heard of it. Kill him. Heiyu's heart grew cold. He frowned, and the Tulip family clansmen swarmed out. Follow me closely. I'll take you out. All right. Su Yun nodded lightly. Su Yun smiled warmly, but the instant he turned, his smile froze. Black light flashed. As Su Yun swung his black sword, the Grim Reaper behind him swung, its sickle as well, harvesting the lives of the Tulip family clansmen like wheat. The dead clansmen. Wisps of mist like energy flowed out of their bodies and into the river behind Su Yun. As the mist increased, Su Yun's black sword grew brighter and brighter. The Grim Reaper behind him grew darker and darker, and the river behind him seemed to grow longer as well. Administrator, we can't let him keep killing like this. Let the 3 of us go. The muscular man with the twin hammers transmitted. No. Heiyu shook his head. I can't let you go. Administrator, if this continues, we'll all be dead, the muscular man shouted. The burly man shouted. Heiyu furrowed his brows. What if you guys die too? The administrator, even if everyone here dies, I won't let the 3 of you die. Understand? Heiyu glared, his eyes bloodshot. But if this goes on, everyone will die. Then let them die. Heiyu's face was ashen. The muscular man sighed. Bro, you let us go. Let us go. Heiyu silently looked at the three standing in front of him, then slowly closed his eyes. Are you confident? We'll only know if we fight. Didn't you teach us that, bro you? The muscular man grinned, then swung his hammers. Let's go. Heiyu silently watched as the three charged out. He clenched his fists tightly. Bro, those three are coming. Su-yin shouted from behind Su-yun. Seeing the three charging at him, Su-yun's lips curled into a smile. His fingers swept across the edge of his sword. You just gave me a generous gift. The sword glowed with black light. It left Su-yun's hand, then transformed into hundreds of illusory images. It's impolite not to reciprocate. Go. Chapter 2576. The illusory swords formed a ring. The illusory black swords faced the Tulip clan's three squad leaders. When the sword shadows swept out, these black sword shadows seemed to draw long rivers in space. The darkness was accompanied by a wisp of strangeness that made one's heart palpitate. Don't worry about the swords. Charge. The burly man with the twin hammers in his hands suddenly began to swell up. In less than 3 breaths, his body was more than twice as strong as before. The 2 hammers merged into one. Once the hammers were in his hands, a round shield appeared in his left. Cosmic energy poured into him. The simple round shield glowed with blue light, transforming into an enormous shield of spiritual light. He charged at the very front, blocking all of the illusory black swords. Go! The 3 squad leaders cooperated with great rapport. Standing behind Su-yin, Su-yin stared intently at the 2 squad leaders charging at them. They're coming. You're pretty good, huh? Surrounded by black light, Su-yun's lips curled into a smile. Then, he suddenly tossed his black sword into the air. He clenched 2 fingers on his right hand, then raised them high into the air. In an instant, the countless black swords in the river Styx behind him seemed to receive some sort of summons. They trembled violently, then flew out of their sheaths. Clear a path for me. Behind each of the swords, there seemed to be an illusory figure of a soul-like existence. The illusory spirits gripped the swords and charged at the Tulip clan. It didn't matter how the Tulip clan tried to defend. 30,000 clansmen. How could they possibly stand up to 30 million nether soldiers? The army of netherworld soldiers marched forward bravely. Emperor Su-yun followed behind them, his hand pressed against his chest. Bro, Su-yin, who'd been paying close attention to Su-yun's condition, frowned. She hurriedly patted his shoulder, sending the light of her life into him. Bro, you have to curse. Don't say anything. Stay calm. Su-yun followed behind infernal soldiers like a king on a personal expedition, his hands clasped behind his back. His eyes brimmed with confidence and arrogance. This curse is far more powerful than I thought. The river Styx can't even devour it all. Then what do we do? Su-yin panicked. Stay calm. Su-yun repeated what he had said before. At present, the leader of the Tulip family does not know my depth. He does not know that the curse has not been removed. We have to continue walking calmly like this. If he really finds any clues, we'll be in trouble. You have to curse. Curses are easy to deal with. Su-yun smiled. Trust me, this is a small problem for me. Right now, the most important thing is to leave the Milky Way. The most important thing is to get you out of here. Big brother. Su-yun patted Su-yan's head when he saw her dejected expression. It's a pity that I didn't get to see your child with Yezi. We'll be able to see them after we get out of here. They're at Lee's place on Blue River Planet. Su-yin pursed her lips. She didn't know why, but she felt a trace of pity from Su-yun's tone. It was as if he was pitying himself. Brother, you'll be fine, right? How could anything happen to me? Su-yun laughed and shrugged, then patted Su-yan's head. I've told you many things. I'm fine. You don't need to worry at all. Don't worry, I'll definitely get you out of the Milky Way. Up ahead, the river Styx's soldiers and the Tulip family clansmen were locked in battle. The soldiers did not fear death. Once their souls were severed by the Tulip family clansmen, they would return to the river Styx. Not long after, they would be able to rejoin the battle. Simply put, they were unkillable. Little did they know that these netherworld soldiers weren't truly immortal and indestructible. They were depleting the river Styx's energy reserves. In less than 5 minutes, the netherworld river had used up more than 20% of the underworld emperor's inheritance, which had been stored for millions of years. Administrator, there's something strange about the river behind that native. Wei frowned as she watched from afar. I know. Heiyu furrowed his brows. How could he not know that something was strange about the river? He also knew that the Tulip family clansmen would die in battle. After dying in battle, he would become the native subordinate and wield the butcher's knife against the Tulip family. But now that things had come to this, it was already too late. If this goes on, they'll kill their way out. Said Wei. Can you shut up? Inexplicably, Heiyu tilted his head and looked at Wei. You think I don't know? Could it be that I am blind? Do I need you to remind me over and over again? As he spoke, Heiyu's arms trembled uncontrollably. The way he saw it, Wei simply didn't know when to stop. She couldn't tell that he was upset, and yet he kept jabbering on and on. Couldn't he see that Su Yun and the others were about to reach the Milky Way's dark spot? He could see it. He knew very well that in less than 10 minutes, they'd most likely leave through the dark spot. Wei bit her lip and lowered her head at Heiyu's scolding. Heiyu stared fixedly ahead. By now, he no longer cared whether or not Su Yun and the others were about to leave the Milky Way. Right now, all he wanted was for his subordinates to survive. You guys get back here. Let them go, Heiyu transmitted through clenched teeth. The man with the twin hammers immediately followed suit. No, bro, over 20,000 of our elites died. They were all elites of the clan. If the clan condemns you, how will you explain yourself? We must keep the life healer. Only if she stays will you be able to make up for your mistakes. No need. Heiyu glared. I order you to come back right now. Before Heiyu could finish his transmission, he suddenly discovered that his transmission had been rejected by the 3 squad leaders. Then, the 3 squad leaders attacked, even more viciously. Almost there. Bro, we're about to leave. From where they were, they could roughly see the location of the dark spot in the Milky Way. Leave the life healer behind. The hammer-wielding man descended from the sky. Behind Su Yun, countless black swords appeared to block his attacks. Su Yun definitely wouldn't come into direct contact with them. He knew very well. Even if it was just a single collision, they could sense that Su Yun's curse hadn't been completely dispelled. When that happened, they would be even more confident. Their attacks would be even more crafty and vicious. As for before they left the Milky Way, he couldn't let them know about this. He had to bring Su Yun out. He had to. Speechlessly, he charged towards the dark spot for a few more minutes. His river Styx's energy was being consumed faster and faster. He'd already used up half of it. Kill them. We must keep the life healer behind. Countless Tulip clansmen charged forward without any regard for their lives. The river Styx's soldiers also charged forward valiantly. At that moment, Su Yan's arm was suddenly grabbed by Su Yun. Bro? Before she could react, Su Yun tossed her out. There were still 3 survival bases in between. In the dark spot, the East Royal the Arch, who had disappeared without a trace since the beginning, suddenly appeared outside the dark spot in space. He caught the survival base, then grabbed Su Yan's wrist and steadied her in space. Take my sister away. I'll stop them, Su Yun shouted, glaring. The East Royal Emperor froze, then let out a deep sigh. Live, grabbing Su Yan's wrist, the East Royal Emperor charged out of the dark spot with her. At that moment, Su Yan understood everything. Why did Su Yun's tone contain a trace of sorrow and pity? He'd already decided to stay here from then on. Bro. During this time, the East Royal Emperor had already dragged Su Yan into the dark spot. Until now, only then did a relaxed smile appear in Su Yun's eyes. Soon, his smile grew infinitely larger. He threw his head back and laughed maniacally. Leave the life healer behind. The 3 squad leaders chased after him. The river Styx behind, Su Yun instantly blocked the coordinates of the dark spot. A black longsword fell into his hand. He looked at the Tulip clansmen contemptuously. You want to capture my little sister? You're not qualified. Kill him. The three squad leaders' eyes were bloodshot. Sui Yun looked up at the Milky Way. Hold on for half an hour. As long as he could hold on for half an hour, Sui Yin and the others would be safe. At that time, even if the Tulip clansmen killed their way out, they wouldn't be able to locate Sui Yin and the others. Sui Yin took a deep breath and swung his sword. As long as I'm alive, you can forget about leaving the Milky Way galaxy. Chapter 2577. 8 Trigrams Diagram. The flaming beast continued to wreak havoc in the room. At that moment, the ground was already covered in scorching lava. There was practically no ground to stand on, while the entire room was filled with heat. Why isn't it coming yet? Yi Zichen frowned as he looked at his arm. Yi Zichen had already fought against the flaming beast in front of him for several days. By relying on the defensive power of the hollow or set, he was still able to withstand the flaming beast's attacks for a bit. Even so, Yi Zichen was already in terrible shape. Several of his bones were broken. He'd only been able to hold on until now purely out of sheer willpower. He was waiting for the secret technique to activate. However, the secret technique that allowed him to succeed in the 8 trigrams diagram did not activate. It's coming. At that moment, a surge of power surged into Yi Zichen's arm. Yi Zichen's eyes lit up when he felt the familiar surge of power. He stopped thinking about defense and dodging. He grabbed the long sword in his hand and swung it down towards the flaming beast's head. Boom! The moment the sword landed on the beast's head, the beast that had troubled Yi Zichen for a long time was instantly torn apart. Pure fire elements scattered in the room. Lil Fire, the fire elemental fairy, who had been waiting for a long time, immediately absorbed all of the elements. It even burped after absorbing all of them. It patted its stomach in satisfaction. F***CK. Yi Zichen sat down on the floor as if he had lost all of his strength when he saw the flaming beast die. 2 years. I've been trapped in this crappy place for 2 years. His original intention was to leave the 8 trigrams diagram in the shortest amount of time possible by fighting nonstop. However, he only found out how difficult it was when he actually did it. The Tyrant of Lightning was purely lucky. The attack just now had activated the secret technique. Then there was water, electricity, and wind. It would take him a few days to defeat any tyrant. Most importantly, he would need time to recover from his injuries after that. That way, he wasted a lot of time. What's more, fighting for a long period of time was a form of torture for his willpower and mental energy. The 5 elemental fairies were unable to endure it, so they needed some time to rest. In the end, it took them 2 years to finish all the trials of the 5 elements in the 8 trigrams. Congratulations, you have passed the trial of 5 elements. Please proceed to the final area to receive the final quest reward. A stiff mechanical voice sounded out in the room. To Yi Zichen, the sound was as pleasant as the sound of nature. It was over. It was finally over. A door appeared in the fire room. Yi Zichen let out a few deep breaths and recovered his energy, then used his sword to push himself up from the ground. The 5 elements' elemental spirits also hurried forward to support him. For some reason, when Yi Zichen looked at them, they seemed to have matured quite a bit. Xiaoa, do you need some time to absorb it? No need. The fire elemental fairy smiled and shook its head. Of course, it was eager to comprehend the fire tyrant's fire elemental origin power, but it knew that the Emperor Star's dream was to leave this place. During this period of time, the Emperor Star had been working hard in order to leave as soon as possible. The elemental spirits still had time to rest, but the Emperor Star hadn't even taken a nap in the past 2 years. Now, they could finally leave this place. How could it possibly waste the Emperor Star's time? Let's absorb it after we leave. In any case, the origin power is already here, so it doesn't matter when I absorb it. The fire elemental fairy smiled. All right. Yi Zichen laughed and nodded. Right now, he really was itching to leave this room. He just didn't know what other trials awaited him beyond this door. He had passed through all of the 5 elements. However, according to the time the old man had given him, there was still one more trial he needed to pass. Please don't torture me. Yi Zichen prayed inwardly. Yi Zichen prayed in his heart. I haven't heard from him for 2 years. The people on Earth must be worried sick. What's more, during this time, his heart had been racing. He had a bad premonition, but he wasn't sure if it was just his imagination. Let me ask, does this end after I leave this place? There shouldn't be any other trials waiting for me, right? Yi Zichen looked up and shouted, "You've already passed all of my trials. As for what happens next, I'm sorry, I don't know." The mechanical voice's voice was still emotionless. When Yi Zichen heard that, his eyes widened. F***CK. What do you mean by that? Don't tell me your 8 trigrams diagram has a lot of trials. I don't have that much time to play with you. The mechanical voice didn't say anything else. Yi Zichen's fiery heart felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over it. Let me recover first, then we'll leave. Yi Zichen sat cross-legged on the ground, took out a few pills, and popped them into his mouth. The mechanical voice's answer just now was vague. Yi Zichen didn't dare guarantee anything. All he could do was let his body recover as much as possible, then leave. According to his previous plan, once he passed through this door, he'd reach the next room. After that, he'd have to fight. He didn't even have time to rest. That was why he'd suffered so much in the lightning elemental room. He hadn't been able to activate his secret technique. Lightning. If there was no lightning, it was practically invisible. That was even more so for the lightning tyrant. His entire body was in a semi-invisible state, and his movements were very fast, like a ghost. A second ago, he was still in front of you, and in the next second, he was behind you, patting your shoulder and giving you a kick. Yi Zichen was nearly beaten to death by the lightning tyrant several times. If it wasn't for his tough life, it would have been rather difficult for him to fight his way out of the 5 elemental trials. Approximately an hour later, Yi Zichen's body had recovered by about 30%. He pointed his middle finger at the room, then walked out anxiously. The moment he walked out of the door, the world in front of him changed dramatically. The whole room was filled with the hands of clocks and countless gears turning in this somewhat empty room. Time, F***CK. I can't be going to fight another time tyrant, right? Stop messing around. I'm already like this, and I'm still fighting against time. If that tyrant rewinds time and turns me into a baby, then wouldn't it just turn me into dust with a hammer? Yi Zichen stood stiffly at the entrance for a long time without moving. He was extremely afraid that he would trigger the checkpoint mechanism and cause countless time elves to appear from within the room. What's more, he was very confused. He didn't have a time elemental spirit, nor did he have any control over the Tao of time. Did something go wrong with this trial? Hey, is the caretaker of this room here? Yi Zichen shouted towards the emptiness above him. Don't mess with me. I've already walked out of the 5 elemental trials. That's enough. Why did you have to leave a time room? Aren't you guys just causing trouble? Even a Milky Way didn't leave this room back then, right? Don't go overboard. I'm really angry. Yi Zichen frowned and hesitated for a while. There was no response from anyone in the room. At that very moment, an elder suddenly appeared in front of him, with a chessboard in front of him. "Senior, you're out." The elder nodded towards him with a smile, then waved his hand. "Come, let's play a game of chess, then you can leave." "Alrighty." Yi Zichen ran towards the elder. Just as Yi Zichen was about to reach him, the gears in the room suddenly spun rapidly. The elder's body instantly turned illusory, while the clock hands in the room also jumped. F***CK. Geezer, you tricked me.